Welcome back to Kind of Funny's MCU in Review. That's right. This is where we rank and review every movie and TV show in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. As always, I'm Tim Geddes, joined by one of the coolest dudes in video games, Greg Miller.
A good day to you, Timothy.
Good day to you as well. Of course, we have the big dog, Kevin Coelho.
Hey, Timothy.
The producer/seducer, Nick Scarpino.
Bottom of the evening to you tonight, Tim.
Good. Got the whole day covered. I love that. And, of course, the Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez.
In case I don't see you, good morning, good evening, good night, Timothy.
Nice, Andy.
Good afternoon is what I meant to say.
You fucked it up. Go smash that guitar on the ground. Slap nuts. All right? You don't know what you're doing. Jeff Jarrett it, baby. Jeff Jarrett it.
Of course, this is Kind of Funny's In Review, where each and every week we rank and review two different movie franchises. You can get it on youtube.com/kindoffunny or roosterteeth.com. If you want to get it as a podcast, just search your favorite podcast service for Kind of Funny In Review, and we'll be right there for you. If you want to get the show ad-free and you want to watch live as we record it, you got to go to patreon.com/kindoffunny, just like our Patreon producers, Molecule and the Kind of Funny Destiny 2 PC clan have done. Thank you all so very, very much. Because of that, you won't need to hear our ads for MeUndies, Babbel, and HelloFresh that everyone else will hear about later. But for now, let's get right into it. We are talking about Shang Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings with a runtime of 2 hours and 12 minutes. It was released on September 3rd, 2021, making it the 25th Marvel Studios film, which is really crazy to think about. These things are just adding up. It was directed by Destin Daniel Cretton, an American film director, screenwriter, producer, and editor, best known for his films Short Term 12, The Glass Castle, and Just Mercy, all in collaboration with Brie Larson, and for directing the Marvel Studios film Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which also features Brie Larson. Greg Miller.
Nick, how excited were you right there when he said short? And I was like, is he going to say Short Circuit? Is this the guy who made Short Circuit? No, just some other guy.
That guy that made Short Circuit died 40 years ago, right? That guy was 75 when he made Short Circuit. He was like, this is the culmination of all the hard work I've ever put. This is my opus. Oscar!
I mean, well, we're talking about Short Circuit 2 right there, and I'm not sure if the same director. You know what? I'll get back to you guys with some Short Circuit facts.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you. Short Circuit in review. The budget was $200 million.
Put Chappie in there, and you got a pie. You know what I mean?
Put what?
Put Chappie in there. I'm Chappie. Put that in there. Just do a whole robot in review.
Do not put Chappie in here.
They had a budget of $200 million and a box office that obviously is still ever going, but it's looking really good. Variety stated some industry tracking services are projecting a $60 million opening weekend, which would mean it was the most money ever made Labor Day weekend of all time, which will beat the previous record held by Halloween, the reboot in 2007. So that's kind of crazy. And this movie easily passes the Bechdel test, which is a measurement of the representation of women in fiction, asking whether a work features at least two women who speak to each other about something other than a man. Greg Miller, what did you think about Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings?
If you ever watched a Kind of Funny in Review, a Marvel in Review, it's full spoilers. So get out if you haven't watched the whole thing. If you haven't done the thing, I know it's new. So what I want to do is in this motion picture, Tim, the one, the only, Trevor Slattery. Says is talking about that they're Planet of the Apes, seeing it, right, and sitting next to his mom watching that movie and having a moment of like being wowed, being engulfed in cinema, right, and like totally being lost in this. That is this movie for me. This movie, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, is nothing short of magical. And what I mean by that is that like I was the entire movie edge of my seat, looking at it like this, just like watching it, and it was the score mixed with the action, mixed with the performances, mixed with the cast, mixed with the scenery, mixed with this, like everything I thought was like pretty much 10 out of 10 on this movie. And I was enraptured the entire time, to the point that at the end, when they're putting out the little, memorial lanterns, right? I teared up, and I didn't tear up because I was sad any of the people had died. It wasn't that kind of thing. It was me being like, man, this movie was beautiful. And I don't mean just visually stunning as it was. I mean, stem to stern, start to finish, a beautiful movie.
Nick Scarpino.
I enjoyed it. I don't think I was as taken with it as Greg was. I found myself a little bit kind of bored as we headed into the third act, which is right when I popped up to grab some popcorn for myself. But I thought the choreography was amazing. I love the fight scenes. I thought a good amount of the humor hit for me, not all of it. Greg mentions Trevor Slattery. I thought a lot of his stuff worked, but I think I just for some reason liked his character more in Iron Man 3 than I liked him in this, even though he had some banger lines and a cute little furry thing he was hanging out with. But overall, I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to ranking it on the list.
Evan Coelho.
I liked it. I thought it was like a lot of fun. It's kind of wild. I feel like so much of it felt like it wasn't part of the MCU, and then there was constant little touchstones, and like it's so cool like that we're there, where movies can feel different but still be part of the MCU. They also said a bunch of stuff that got me all like excited, like talking about different universes and stuff like that I'm like so stoked to learn more about. I also thought it went a little long. I think that in the third act we could have lost 15 minutes and made the movie a little bit tighter. I don't know. I guess I'm just really excited with what this presents, like what this means for the greater MCU and how other movies like this kind of makes me really excited for like Eternals, where it's like that's another movie that like on the surface you're like, oh, I don't know much about the comics. We're gonna see another fleshed out world, hopefully, and them doing it right here with was it Tola? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I have a feeling like this just really makes me think that they know what they're doing, or at least for this team, they nailed it. So the bar is getting set a little higher for Eternals.
Eddie.
I love this movie. I was a little iffy on it at first. I thought the humor missed for a lot of the beginning for me, where whenever something wild happened and Aquafina says a line, it's like, that didn't really hit like it should have. And then I feel like everything sort of picks up. But aside from the humor not hitting in the beginning, I think everything else was always hitting. And every subsequent action sequence was more badass than the last one, even though the last one kicked a lot of ass. This movie just rules. And I think it's gorgeous, and it is high action, high intensity, and you're feeling these fights. And again, I was telling Tim that I haven't really enjoyed the action in a Marvel movie in this way since probably Winter Soldier, and just seeing these characters fighting each other, and the choreography was so cool and creative. And as soon as they get outside of a building and they're walking on the construction little boards, and I'm like, we're gonna get an action sequence here. It's gonna be cool shit, and it was. And every next action sequence was really cool and so inventive and creative. And then near the end, fucking Shang Chi's about to drown. He sees a dragon, and I'm like, this movie rules so much, dude. Like, it rules, and all the anime sequences were hype as hell. And yeah, I think Trevor Slattery stole the show. I was laughing at everything that dude is saying. I think after Black Widow, I didn't really know how to feel about the future of the MCU, and wondering where do we go next, and will there be a lot of things to be excited about. And this movie blew all my expectations out of the water, and I really enjoyed it, and I cannot wait to see it again.
Tim, what do you think?
I think that this movie is fantastic, and I think that it really kind of has so many awesome elements that fit together very well. I think this was a expertly directed movie, and I think that the combination of the comedy, the action, just the chemistry that all the characters have, like, is so interesting and compelling. And I can't wait to see them in other projects. And I kind of think that's the ultimate goal for these origin movies, is wanting like to see them team up with others. But what I think this movie does so well is kind of breaking the mold that we've seen for so many of the origin movies before. And it's like, we're now 25 movies into this, right? And like, that's not even talking about all the other universes, whether it's DC, the other Marvel stuff. Like, we're so used to superhero origin stories, but to get a solo origin story for a character that none of us are really that familiar with, and to have it hit this hard and create a whole other pocket of this world and universe that we know so well, that is just inherently interesting from the get-go, and the has like a bunch of lore and cool stuff. Like, the 10 rings themselves are dope as shit, and from the opening scene you're just like, okay, cool. Wow, they're going to use these things in a lot more varied ways than just what we saw in the trailers. And I thought that the way that they used the cameos in this movie enhanced the story, as opposed to just being like random ass like bits that didn't really make sense. And like, it built the world in a way that seeing Abomination in Wong is like fucking cool. Like, that's just such a random ass pairing that, like, I think we would have assumed there's a better chance we see Ant-Man in this movie than them, just based on the San Francisco elements and stuff. But I love that it kind of just played with my expectations there. But the key thing is Simu Liu is a fucking badass, man. And like, the fact that he is doing most of the fighting himself, you can tell. Like, that is why these action scenes feel so damn good, because they're not cutting away and they're letting him just do his thing. And they're inspired set pieces. Like, the scaffolding fight that Andy was talking about was awesome. The fight on the Muni bus was simply fucking incredible. Some dodgy CG here and there, but like, the choreography is what matters. And so I didn't allow myself to get distracted by the negatives there, because the tracking shot going through the bus as he's just fucking ripping fools apart is awesome. And in classic MCU fashion, it works best when we care about the characters. We're getting super well choreographed action scene, and it's funny. And that bus scene, having the guy from Spider-Man Homecoming that was like, Spider-Man, do a flip, and like having him like filming, vlogging, like, he was hilarious the entire
I didn't
time.
realize that was that guy. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
And it's like those type of touches. I just think this movie really kind of hit on everything I look for from the Marvel Studios project, and did it really well. It's not perfect. I agree kind of with Nick that like towards the third act, it kind of like runs out of steam a little bit for me. And the crazy anime dragon fight at the end is cool as hell. But like, for some reason, I liked the movie more in the first 2/3 than I did for the last third. But overall, it works so damn well, and I can't wait to see these characters in more things.
Yeah, see, for me, go ahead, Greg.
I was going to jump in and be like, I think that was, when I knew, like, I think watching throughout, like I said, I was on the ride to the theater, I was talking to Jen. I'm like, I'm super excited for this because I don't know or care about this movie. Like, I don't know this character. I have no hype it's a Marvel movie and the trailers looked cool. Great. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I have no inherent, it's not like Endgame. It's not like wanting to see Batman v Superman. It's nothing like that. And I'm like, usually when Marvel does that, and I say usually, I mean all the time, they set me up for something like that. I actually come out like, I really enjoy it more than maybe some of the other stuff I had expectations for. And what caught me off guard about this one was, historically on all in review, but even MCU, right? Like, when we get to fight scenes is when I'm like, oh yeah, and then they punch or something. I forget what have you. Like, the fight scenes were so fucking good and so cool to watch on this. And it was that thing where when we're on the Muni bus and they're fighting, I was like, holy shit, this is awesome. And it's got a pace and style that is not something I've seen before in the MCU. And it was when they spun out and did like the raid thing as he fought along the bus, right? Where I heard Nick gasp and I turned on like, this is great, right? Nick's like, yeah. I was like, this is fucking awesome. And I was so amazed that every fight scene I thought got better and better. And that's saying something because I think they were all awesome. And it kept me in there, and it kept me totally, entranced in the thing. So to get to the end and have a kaiju battle in there, usually for sure that's when I would be checked out of a movie in terms of a fight scene. I was so in on this. Like, I fucking loved everything. It's everything you've said, Tim, of like being connected to these characters, caring about these characters, thinking the characters are cool, wanting to be with them.
Yeah, and I just want to be clear, like me talking about the third act, it's not the traditional problem that I have with, and a lot of us have with MCU movies, where it's like everything kind of falls apart in the third act, and it's like, oh, you're just fighting the same person, all that. This one, while some of those elements are true, they do it really well. It's just there's something about the pacing of how we got there that I'm not thrilled about. Like the forest maze, I think, is kind of the thing for me that, like, once our heroes start going through that bit kind of drags a little bit for me.
To me, that's where it gets. That's where a lot of the enjoyment of the film stopped for me, because I was like, I like the adventure of trying to find this hidden land. I liked a lot of the backstory of like where Shang Chi had come from. The relationship with his father I thought was very interesting, because it's pretty complex, considering his dad is the bad guy but also loves him, which is kind of a weird kind of place to put your character, which is super cool to explore. But by the time we got to the place where the mom's from, and I forgot the name of the what's the name of the village?
Kevin knows.
Hello.
Taulo.
That's it.
by the time they get to Tao Lo, I'm like, okay, what are we doing here? And then we set up the backstory of this bad guy that's coming through this gate, that's a dragon scale gate and all that stuff. And I'm like, oh, I'm not that invested in whatever's behind that door. I was way more invested in, honestly, the relationship between the dad and Shang Chi and his relationship with his sister, who felt estranged to him. And I liked that moment where they get in and he's like, oh, he's got to fight his sister, and she just whoops his ass because she's mad at him for leaving them when they were a kid, even though, you know, realistically he was a kid too at that point. That stuff to me was a lot more entertaining than I think a lot of the fight stuff, which by the time we got into the third act, I would disagree with you guys. I think the Unibus fight was awesome. I think it was inspired. And then I think by the time we get to sort of that last big set piece, I was just kind of, I was a little bit blah. I was a little cooled on the fighting by that point. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
for
more
for me, it was the hype of the anime and absorbing. Now I have 5 rings and I've got goosebumps all over my body and I'm so hyped up. And then in our private theater, Tim yells, "Let's fucking go, baby!" And I'm like, "Yes, Tim, let's fucking go right now!" Like, this is so good, and it's all the things I love about, you know, for as much as I don't love the filler in My Hero Academia, when those big fight scenes happen and I've got chills going throughout my body, this is everything about that. This is those cool moments where the hero is finally overcoming and finally learning and using their abilities to overcome the bad guy, and seeing him do what his mom did and sweeping his leg back and use, like, all that shit is so dope to me. I I don't disagree that the third act is without its problems. I do think that Blade Hand Man, super uninteresting. Get him out of the movie. Kill him off. He was
also
just,
what a baby face. That's just a giant baby with a beard on. You
Yeah.
don't try to trick me, Kevin Feige, with
It's
putting
Greg
a baby
Miller right
on
there.
screen.
Yeah. I didn't love his involvement. I thought he wasn't a super great actor. I'm not really sure why he was in the movie. I leaned over to Kevin at one point and was like, he should have sacrificed himself or something. Like, we don't need to have him still here. I also think in this movie, you sort of notice the script doing that thing where we need to get to this next part. How do we force this one action in order to get to the next part and have it make sense and justify why we're doing it? And when all the dragons are coming loose and they're like, look, we got to fight together. And then Blade Hand Man is like, everybody, let him go. And it's like, oh, I didn't even know they had lost. Like, there was not a whole lot of stuff communicated to the audience that
I think they were still
one
fighting.
side was losing. There wasn't a whole lot of communication that one side had, like, definitely lost, when it looked like, Red Squad was, like, being captured by a lot of these people. I don't think that was very well communicated. So I didn't love that whole part, that whole sequence. But then, and when we see the dragon underwater, I'm thinking, all right, this is cool as shit. Like, we're getting mystical, awesome, dope stuff in a Marvel movie. How is this going to make sense? And suddenly Simu Liu is riding the dragon. It's like, oh my God, this is incredible. And then I thought, this is going to go downhill. There's no way this can keep up steam. And I'm not going to say that it was awesome all the way through, but the moment of the rings being inside the dragon's belly as he's in free fall, gathering their power and then busting, like, God damn, that was just the hypest shit. It was so good. And I don't know. I just hadn't really had that feeling since, like, the end of Endgame. And I think a lot of Marvel action can kind of feel samey unless it's the end of Endgame. And I think that's why we love Winter Soldier so much. Go ahead, Greg.
I think that's, I mean, one of the reasons this movie stands out so much to me is that it's not samey. And to go back to something that I think the movie does, but maybe not to what Nick was wanting it to. Nick was talking about, rather than get to this other being on the other side of the door plot point, he wanted to see it be more about the dad and the family and stuff like that. I like how they gave us the dad and family there in the finale. Because again, every Marvel movie is usually, right, like this just irredeemable bad guy, whether it's Jude Law or Cross or whoever you want to go down the list, right? Or just, the other version, which I guess in this fact is the same way. It is the other version of you, right?
Cross
but
sucks. Jesus.
I appreciated this time of, like, when he took, when he took him back to the compound, the 10 Rings compound, right? It was this thing of like, oh man, is he going to kill him? Is he like that Lionel Luthor Smallville bad guy? You know what I mean? Kiss you on the cheek, then stab you in the back kind of thing. And it was very much like, hey, welcome home. I've missed you all. my motivations are to save your mother. Your mother's behind that door, and like, yeah, I've done horrible things, and I trained you all to be assassins, yada yada yada. But like, this is what I'm all about, and this is what I'm going to go do, right? So I appreciated that the conflict at the end wasn't just I hate you more, and you must like. I appreciated that it was I'm trying to save your mom. It's not mom. You need to get over that. I like that push and pull of it.
I do think it was interesting that it was clear that it was a choice for Shang, right, to become an assassin. Like, I feel like we get the moment where the mother gets killed, and then the dad takes him to go and murder some of the people involved. And as they're walking out, it's like, we need to get revenge this way.
Sequence was so sad. I kind of forgot that happened. That was amazing.
It was so cool. That outfit that he wears, he looks with the rings. Oh, man.
And a lot of the creativeness, Kevin, in the way it's shot, too. The reflection and all that. So dope.
Really cool. But I mean, it's interesting. Like, I know that the dad is like, he's done a bunch of bad things, but like, he is like, is he the central bad guy, or is it just that force that's pushing it? Because like, he came from a time 1,000 years ago where conquering was what the goal was for a lot of people, right? And at the end, he turned away from that, and it was losing his wife. And the complexity of the dad, I really like. I do think there was a miss with Shang himself. There was the character that they introduced, and we see for a while, the masked character that's torturing
Death Dealer.
him. Yeah. Death Dealer. Yeah.
Badass name.
And then Death Dealer just at the end gets like taken by one of these soul eaters.
Soul suckers,
that's right.
He's sucking his soul.
Yeah. And then
that one, Kevin,
dies.
that was a miss. That bad guy could have been utilized better.
There was a moment halfway through, or I don't know, the start of the third act, where Shang is fighting him and like has the upper hand and has a dagger, and he like decides he's gonna stab him, and the dad stops him. So I kind of feel like at that moment he's still being motivated by revenge, and I thought we needed something telling us that he's grown, and we didn't get that. So it just kind of seemed like a miss.
Well, I thought the growth was like that he left, right? He escaped and he left his life because he didn't want to go back to it. I think that came across. But I do agree that we were waiting for that beat of that mini boss to go against. I thought he was going to fight the sister and she was going to whip his ass.
Dude, once he lost in the high rise, I was like, this guy's a bitch. Doesn't matter. I don't need to see anything more. Get eaten by the monster.
I thought the Death Dealer was going to be somebody. Like,
I know. I thought they were going to pull out the mask. It's like, Ogre Krolinko, you're everywhere. You're behind every mask. No, but I understand what they were trying to use that character for. They were like, oh, this character is badass and almost unbeatable, and then when they see that him just get destroyed by these soul suckers, you're like, oh my god, those are even worse. But to me, I just never really. I guess the problem is the same problem I have with a lot of these standalone movies, is that just whatever the big imposing force at the end is, I'm just like, I don't really care about it. And these little squiddy things that are sucking people's souls, I'm like, this is not hitting on me. This is not interesting to me. The complexities of the family relationship are what's interesting. The CG characters and the CG dragon fight, it ended up being a lot of noise to me. And I just don't think we spent a lot of time with Michelle Yeoh and those people for me to actually care about any of them dying. So like the only really characters that I care about are the core three, which is Shang Chi, the sister's character whose name I don't remember. What's the sister's character?
80?
No,
the sister. Sorry.
But I was surprised that they didn't put Awkwafina's character into what's that?
Xialing, Xialing,
and she did a great job too. I hope she comes back as well.
She will.
Oh, that's right, because she's at the end.
And rings ruler.
But I thought one of the things that I thought was surprising that I actually really enjoyed was that Awkwafina wasn't the dumb friend character who's obviously just there for the main character to explain what's happening with the movies, but they pushed her, or like what's happening with the overall plot and the history of everything. So she is the exposition character that we're supposed to be as the audience, but they pushed it one further and they actually had her have some character growth too, which I thought was cool. And I kind of like that they were just friends. Like, I think if this movie had been made 20 years ago, they would have had to have some romantic relationship.
Yeah.
And they didn't have to. They were
I was wondering if the end we were going to get a kiss or if we were going to get like something like that.
I think they just love each other in like a platonic way, or we don't have to define it. It's totally fine. But them, like, they just love each other because they've been together their whole lives. Sure. I don't think it has to be romantic or anything. But I just thought that was kind of cool. I thought that was fun that they wrote that character a little more three-dimensionally.
I totally agree. And I was kind of like iffy with a lot of the the humor with Awkwafina, because I generally like a lot of the stuff she does, but for some reason it just wasn't hitting with me. And then I think it got gradually better as I was more in a laughable mood because of Trevor Slattery,
Yeah.
and a lot of the lines that he was throwing out. So
that was a weird looking horse. Why is it looking at me?
God damn, it's just
That
like,
was funny. That part
I'm so
that
glad
was
we had
funny.
that theater to ourselves, because I just loved laughing aloud and like just feeling the energy,
You can do it every
But
time,
I
bud.
definitely liked her. I liked Aquafina's character more and more as we went on, and then again, I will disagree with you, Nick, in the moment where it's time for war. We're finally going out to fight, and she grabs the bow and arrow, and homeboy, the older man looks at her and he's like, "Don't die," or I forgot what he says.
Yeah.
And that
Well, the
was
first time
such
he stops her, right? He's like, "Not yet. You're not ready."
yeah, of
And then when
course.
the shit really goes down, he's like, "Don't die."
Yeah,
That's
and,
all.
and
That's
I,
the only thing I can tell you.
and to me, like, for that moment to work, I could have. I think if the character was any more, it's not that the character was on screen a whole lot. We didn't get to know who this man was, but I think he was on screen enough for me to care in that moment and go, "Oh, that's a cute moment between these two characters."
Definitely.
And I think that's just sort of the Marvel magic of making things work without, similar to in Loki, where classic Loki has his moment and we care because Marvel's good at making you care with small little moments to make that one moment feel earned. And in my opinion, I think when he died, I felt that. I was like, oh man, that fucking sucks. I thought she was gonna save him, you know? And I needed her hitting the dragon to sort of, I felt like hitting the dragon and not saving the old man should have been connected somehow. I think there should have been some sort of like, I fucked up by not saving you. Let me kill this dragon.
That could have been her character development of being like, I like, she has that one line where she's like, everything I almost get at, I quit. And so like you could have had a moment where she tries to save the guy, it doesn't work. She's heartbroken, but then realizes she has to try again.
Like,
she has to do it again to save Shang-Chi.
Just utter the line that the old lady had told her: if you're not aiming at anything, you're gonna miss every time.
Miss it. Which,
and
by
like,
the way,
just
is
have her say that like under her breath.
Andy, do you think she was like this? If you're not aiming at anything, you're gonna miss every time. Wayne Gretzky.
Exactly. So anyway, yeah, I think at the beginning I was a little kind of iffy with a lot of Awkwafina's lines, and then I started to really enjoy her by the end of it.
And I do agree that I think her humor didn't hit as much as I'm used to her humor hitting.
Right.
Like when she was that character in Crazy Rich Asians, she was hilarious and it was super fun to watch. And I think it was good because Constance Wu was so sort of like the straight person, right? She was just like, I don't know what's going on here. And then Awkwafina got to step in and be kind of larger than life. And in this, I just felt like that might have been misdirection for her. I feel like she played it a lot more realistic. And then, so when those moments of levity happen, you're like, I don't know, this is not really working for me.
See, for me, it was like easing into like a pool or whatever, where in the beginning I did find it jarring a little bit of like how she was delivering lines and who she was. But by the end of it, I was like, that's who Katie is. And like, I know that that's obviously like an acquired taste and maybe not what, they actually wanted. But for me, I was like, oh, that's who Katie is because I feel like I've been on this journey with her and I like her so much, right? That like, there I am. Sorry, Nick, back to you.
I'm sorry, Greg. Could you show the audience and the rest of the people on this podcast what easing into a pool looks like for you?
Oh, where it's like, because it's like, you're going,
you gotta dip your toe in.
Cool, you do this thing, but then as a guitar, you're like, and then you gotta do, I gotta do, you go, and you come up like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's good.
I really enjoyed
off the Band-Aid, yeah.
Katie and his relationship, and I agree that it got better as it went on. I didn't so much not like the jokes and stuff. I didn't like how exposition heavy some of her lines were. Like we've been friends for 10 years. It's like, okay, we get it. But I think
how'd you feel about the spot where they were talking to their two friends? Like that.
I loved it. To me, like that. I think that the one of the things that this movie does best is it really nails the experience of being a 20, 30 something in San Francisco with that type of group of friends where all the places they're going, the karaoke stuff, that dinner scene with the friends, and that there being this kind of like silent judgment between them, and kind of like both sides are judging each other. I'm like, this is so fucking real. Him living in the garage.
It wasn't
like,
silent judgment. She was like, you need to get better jobs. You guys are like losers, basically.
Yeah, and the family scene was like, honestly, they just fucking nailed it. And
that scene was great.
And all the stuff of like, especially with Wong, like coming back towards the end, and like getting that like big moment at the end where seeing them describe what they just did to the same people. I thought they did really, really well. And yeah, I just think that like the friendship between them like really, really shined in this movie, and it felt authentic. Like Marvel really nailed the vibe they were going for.
I do want to briefly go back to. Andy's gone.
Bye, Andy.
OBS just crashed.
Go back to what Nick was saying, because I actually agreed with it. I felt like the last, like the once they introduced the dragons, they look really cool. Or the dragons and also the like soul suckers. It just something about that, like, here's a gray monster that's gonna basically like you no longer can fight against them. You have to use these weapons. It's kind of a bummer because like fighting was like such a theme in this movie. You know, the like martial arts, and it just saddened me to walk away from that and to just be like, all right, they're now just in horde mode, fighting off these hordes over and over until they get the next power up to, you know, beat.
I don't disagree.
The big monster.
Yeah, I think suddenly the importance going from martial arts to dragon scales being the killer kind of was like a twist that I didn't necessarily want to see, and I was hoping that it wasn't these little small soul suckers. I was hoping it was something else feeding the bigger dragon, because I did think that kind of felt like a weird, jarring change for me.
Yeah,
I thought it was an escalation. I liked it.
Yeah.
And then wait, two more things briefly. One very short. I'm not sure why the sister got a white outfit. Everyone else was in red. I feel like that's the kind of thing that would piss me off. Like, what the fuck, guys?
It's like that time we booked you at the front of the plane, and you were like, "I don't like this.
Way
Never
too
do
much,
this again."
And then the second thing, I absolutely loved how much San Francisco is in the first.
Oh my god, that
10 minutes of this movie.
Yeah,
I loved it.
You know, and also, and they didn't use like the parts of San Francisco that you would feel like are the cliche parts to use, right? You're not seeing like the very touristy spots. You saw actual neighborhoods, which is super cool. And I always love
dim sum spot, man. Good luck dim sum, baby. Let's go.
That's
I
awesome.
thought that's where it was. Oh my god, so exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Really
I recognize so many of those awnings, and he has my same zip code 94118. I was like, holy shit, he's an inner Richmond guy. That's really cool.
Baby. Let's go.
I always love, by the way, I always love when people are driving around San Francisco and you see the bus go from like Noe Valley to like California and Van Ness. It like turns right and all of a sudden it's 7 miles across the city, and we're having that's always hilarious to watch.
I appreciated Nick's literal gasp when they ran over all the fancy cars in front of Ghirardelli Square, which is a huge tourist spot. But like when they ran over like the Maseratis or whatever the fuck they were.
Oh yeah,
dude, that BMW.
Oh my god, the BMWs in this were so dope. When that dude pulls up in the M8, I was like, "Fuck, let me drive that car. It's cool."
That's the full.
Were we about to get to the ad read with the Nick said the F word?
Yeah, it's life. You know what I mean?
It's life.
Sometimes you just gotta talk a little longer.
Roll with the
sure we get away.
We talk a little bit longer, though. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
No, Kevin. To answer your question, I think it's the i8 is the all electrical one. That's the one that didn't do that well for BMW. The M8,
really?
I believe,
it has the same body, right?
Is that the white one with like
shapes?
The blue?
They're both like Grand Tour coupes.
Yeah, with the blue.
That's the one with the blue. This one was, I believe, was an M8, which I'm not familiar with the engine in that, but I'm pretty sure they have like 700 horsepower.
But that sponsor integration was so clear.
I'll take it. Greg, when are you going to get us a BMW sponsorship? Get off your duff.
Tim, you're in charge of the sponsorships. When are you going to get us a BMW sponsorship?
I don't know. But speaking of sponsors, let's check them out now. This episode is brought to you by Babbel. When you're traveling to a destination where you don't know the language, it can be challenging to accomplish even the simplest of tasks. Tell me that isn't true. You know, there's one time I remember I was in Bali and I was very overwhelmed, not understanding what was going on. And that could have easily been solved if I had Babbel in my life back then. Thankfully, there's Babbel, the #1 selling language learning app. Babbel is a travel essential. Greg Miller's been learning a little French here and there so he can better communicate with one Geneviève Saint-Ange Miller. You know what I'm talking about? Babbel's 15-minute lessons make it the perfect way to learn a new language on the go. Other language learning apps use AI for their lesson plans, but Babbel lessons were created by over 100 language experts. Pretty cool. Right now, when you purchase a 3-month Babbel subscription, you'll get an additional 3 months for free. So that's 6 months for the price of 3. Just go to Babbel.com and use promo code MORNING. That's BABBEL.com, code MORNING. Babbel, language for life. Next up, shout out to HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get fresh, pre-measured ingredients and mouth-watering seasonal recipes delivered right to your door. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. Fall is busy, but HelloFresh recipes save time you'd otherwise spend meal planning, shopping, and shopping, so you can get back to what matters. HelloFresh's family-friendly menu is a big win for back-to-school season with easy, delicious recipes for drama-free dinners. So many members of Kinda Funny have been loving HelloFresh, including Kevin Coelho and Paula Coelho. She's a vegetarian. He's not. Guess what? There's options for both. It's great. So much cool stuff. You can go to HelloFresh.com/morning14 and use code morning14 for up to 14 free meals, including free shipping. That's HelloFresh.com/morning14 and use code morning14 for up to 14 free meals. Very cool. Go check that out now. One more time. HelloFresh.com/morning14 and use code morning14 for up to 14 free meals and free shipping. And finally, shout out to MeUndies. It's fall, y'all. Replace those hydration stations with pumpkin spice lattes and go out of your way to step on crunchy leaves because the coziest time of the year has arrived. I love MeUndies. I'm obviously wearing a MeUndies shirt right now, MeUndies lounge pants, MeUndies undies, and MeUndies socks because that's the type of life that I live. I just love their soft micromodal fabric and I want it all over my body. MeUndies, can you make some bomber jackets? Please. I want them very, very bad. Imagine the softest thing you've ever felt. Now imagine that's the thing on your butt. That is MeUndies. They're designed by the country's top softness scientists to be the softest thing you've ever worn, period. It's so true. I can attest. To get 50% off your first order, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guarantee, go to MeUndies.com/morning. That's MeUndies.com/morning to get 15% off and free shipping for first-time purchasers. And if you're not satisfied with any product for any reason, they'll refund or exchange it. No caveats, no questions. MeUndies.com/morning. One more time, MeUndies.com/morning. And now we're back.
And we set that up like 19 different ways. You still almost screwed it up.
It's fine. It's fine. Let's get to the plot.
Stop. Before we do that, let's close the thread, all right? Because I'm not going to be having this hanging over me the entire plot read, all right? Everybody, Short Circuit was directed by John Badham. Do you know John Badham? John Badham, Nick?
No, not from
He also directed War Games, Saturday Night Fever, and Nick of Time. So put that out there, okay?
Okay, we can leave Nick of Time off that. You can
now, Short Circuit 2 was by a different director. This, of course, was by the one, the only Kenneth Johnson. Do you know Kenneth Johnson, Nick?
I'm not familiar with that name either.
He when you go on IMDb and it's known for, he wrote for The Bionic Woman. Okay, he was a writer on Curse of Dracula, whatever. But when you scroll through it, he is in fact the creator of Alien Nation, the TV series, which I'm sure Nick remembers.
I do remember that series. I remember the movie.
Remember they drank curdled milk. That was the aliens' big thing. They were weird.
Gross, Tim. And then at the end of the movie, the guy drinks the big thing and it gets to be a big alien, and James Caan has to fight him, even though he's short.
I don't remember that part, but I believe
War Games just reminds me of Family Guy when she's like, when Lois is like, the only way to play the game is not to play it, and he goes, "Is that a War Games reference?" She goes, "Yeah, it is." He goes, "You like War Games?" "I do." "Still learn stuff about you, huh?" Like it just reminds you of that. Plot.
Everybody! Welcome to 1,000 years ago, at least 1,000 years ago from 1994. I guess it's 1,000 years ago from today-ish. It doesn't matter, ladies and gentlemen. We will be following the antics and up to no goodness of one Wen Wu. I will call him the Mandarin or Shang Chi's father for the rest of the film. Thank you very much. As it's laid out, right? We're getting this narration from a female voice. The story's being told. He could have used these powers. He has these 10 rings, right? That he's using to do all sorts of cool shit. And like, we don't know he's doing cool shit, but we know he has the 10 rings. And it's like, she's like, hey, he could have used these for anything, but he used them for bad stuff. And it's him walking, and he's like on his horse riding up on some dudes, and those dudes, they're sweating, Kevin. They're not feeling this. They're not excited about it. And finally they're like, do it! And like, they shoot all these arrows, and he's like, oh, y'all fucked up now. And the rings come out, wow. And he makes his little shit and he just rides in there and just fucks everybody up. And so then we're just doing the old, my favorite, a little bit of a time montage. We're hopping around, bebopping, scatting through space and time. You know what I mean? And what you're seeing is just these rings just fuck clowns up forever. You see all these different people, right? You got these guys, they're oldies, then you got some mid oldies, then you get to some more like contemporary stuff. What I appreciated was when they blew up, they showed that she's describing, they made the 10 rings out of this thing. He got the 10 ring symbols there, this whole group or whatever. And they show the guy blow up the thing. It looks like he like blows up something in England, and it looks so much like when Wonder Woman just nukes that one guy. God, kills that one dude in Justice League.
Greg, I almost nudged you, and I was almost like,
except remember, she was the good guy of that film.
This
is the bad guy of that film.
Sort him out.
I like this exposition a lot because I like what they did with the 10 rings, because we know the 10 rings have been involved in previous movies, specifically Iron Man 1. And I like that they're like, for across time and a bunch of different locations, the 10 rings have rose up and stuff. I'm like, that's fucking cool. And they made the 10 rings a really scary force in this.
Was this the sequence where we see that one man like sniping somebody? Because that's when I leaned over to Kevin. I was like, "Oh, this is the JFK sequence. Like, there's a reference to it," and it definitely was. And it was like not a grassy knoll sequence in Dallas or whatever. And then Kevin reached over to me and was like, "You know what? If we were smarter about history, we'd probably understand a lot of these references."
Yeah,
I was like, "You're so right. Like, I bet you a lot of these are kind of pointing to real life things in history, and we just didn't get it."
They say the people that know history are doomed to repeat it. So that's why we haven't learned any of it.
It would be. It would have been interesting if we saw like the scene from Iron Man. Like,
I'm surprised they didn't. Honestly.
Which scene do you want to see?
Him getting kidnapped
by the 10
Something
rings.
about the cave.
Remember that?
Yeah, but you know what though? Because that would
I
ruin
see
the
what you're saying.
surprise.
I apologize. No, I see what you're saying. Okay.
I kind
What
of like
surprise?
I know. Well, I know we just watched the thing last week, but I'm stupid. I didn't put
hold on.
together and think that he was going to be in this.
Full breaks. No, full breaks, Nick. I was on the same thing until they explained themselves. They're not saying the Trevor Slattery thing. They're talking about the 10 rings from Iron Man 1 when they kidnapped Iron Man.
Got it. My bad.
Tony!
Tim, have you?
Where the fuck is Obadiah? We got a multiverse now. Give me a fucking what if. Listen, are you watching right now, Jeffrey? I want a what if that is what if Obadiah won. All right, show me the Ironmonger. What he's up to nowadays.
Tim, quick question: have you looked into any of those? The what we get through the flashbacks? Are there any? Okay,
I don't think there's anything.
I wonder.
Or there's nothing I know of.
Hopefully, we'll find out if it's something or if it's set up. A couple years from now, we're like, oh shit, that was the 10 rings.
Shit, fuck. That was 10 rings right there. But we go through time, we get the story, and everything's going on.
What's he
Guess
doing?
what?
Is he swimming? I don't know what he's doing over there. You see him? What's he doing? Is that a breaststroke? Are you rowing a boat?
That's like either the Cabbage Patch or he's using the 10 rings. I'm not sure which it is.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah, all right. Corey, I need the 10 rings animated on Kevin after you see
That
this
was the
film.
most coordinated I've ever seen Kevin look.
I know.
Like, he was vibing there.
It also looked a little bit like, did you guys remember that scene from Hitch where he teaches Kevin James how to dance where it's like 10 and 2, 10 and 2. 10 and 2, just keep him here. Don't get away.
When we go throughout time, we get to 1994, right, where he's like top of the mountain, king of the mountain, top of the hill, top of the morning, and he's like, you know what? Like, I've done it all, I've seen it all. I have been all over this planet. If there ain't a nook or a cranny that I ain't sniffed around, if you know what I'm saying. And he's like, but I've heard a lot about this magical forest, all right? And there's this forest, and they got all sorts of crazy creatures over there. They got a fox over there. I hear it looks just like that goddamn Pokemon. And he's like, so to his dude, he's like, but dude, let's go there. And the dude's like, cool, I'll send out a scout. And he's like, no, motherfucker. I mean, right now. So they get up and they get into like an A-team van or whatever, and they get dropped on the edge of the forest. And they're driving through the forest. They're having a great time because forests are cool. And they look behind, like, what the fuck? The trees are moving, man. Shit's moving out there.
I love shit like this, man. I just love it. It's such a cool concept.
Mazes are cool.
It's just a cool concept that these trees are constantly moving in a pattern so that random people can't get into. Like, just the idea of that, it's so video gamey, it's so fantasy, it's dope as shit. And I love this sequence. But Greg, I'll be honest with you. We have a hard truth right now? Can we have a hard
Everybody
truth?
hit the hard truth.
Get close.
Here's my hard truth right here.
What is it, Andy?
I don't love the obviously really fake, not really outdoors. This is a set shots.
Sure.
And this whole fight sequence, albeit really cool, creative, really neat, lots of cool moves. I don't love how obvious they are not in an actual environment. It's clearly a set.
Okay. It's fair enough. You wanted more of a documentary. Have you ever seen the documentary about the chimps? Because let me tell you, all right, there's a lot of fucking outdoors there, you nerd. Shut up. All right, so anyways, though, they're driving this fucking Hummer through there, right? Everything's coming up behind them, and they're like,
took a turn.
oh, fuck, we're about to die and some shit or whatever. And they're like, gun it. And let me tell you, when Wooey's like, no, he just jumps out. They drive off a cliff. He, scatters money, or he gets himself up, and he's like, "Woo, close call." And then he just like doop, 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 and he walks over into the forest, and then he finds this very nice waterfall area, like little water trickling and stuff, bamboo everywhere. Kevin Coelho from kindoffunny.com.
Couldn't they just have taken a helicopter?
I thought about that, Kev, but then when they show the aerial shot, you don't see anything. So I think the forest.
You see the forest moving.
No, but you don't see what is the name of the village again?
Tallow.
Oh no! Yeah, you got to go into the waterfall.
Yeah, you have to take the specific path in there. So if they took a helicopter,
I thought even from the top it looked overgrown, like you couldn't see the path unless when it was moving or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but there was a mountain at the end with a waterfall, right?
Yeah, but who would suspect that's where the entrance to the bat
cave
would
they
be?
also
remember the forest eats you. You know what I mean? The forest eats you, Kevin.
It eats you for us, like the end of Harry Potter, where they're like, it's starting to come along, and then Victor gets sucked into the forest, and we're like, well, we didn't really like that character anyway because we all know that Hermione should be with Harry.
And then the ants pop up, and they're like, "Oh, little hobbits."
Why does he have to? Greg, can we come close again, please? Greg, please come close.
Oh, I like secret times.
Greg.
Me too.
Why does Andy always have to find a way to bring it back to Lord of the Rings?
I'll tell you what, man. One of the biggest mistakes we ever made was you can't laugh when I'm in the middle of it. Anyway, so when Woo's like, "See you fuckers later," he jumps out, he rolls around, he does the thing where he almost goes off the edge like Fast and Furious, but he stops even shorter than that. And he gets up, he's like, walks in, waterfall, bamboo everywhere, and then there's this woman in green, right? And she's got the cool hat on, and she's got that half mask on that I have a million of and Ghost of Tsushima. Cool. And I'm like, this is fucking awesome. This is my first time where I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Meanwhile, by the way, if you're, I know you watched the goddamn movie. It dawns on me, at least while I'm watching it, like, holy shit, this is a Marvel blockbuster, and no English has been spoken. And it just keeps going for so long, right? As this is in Chinese, as she's telling the story. Anyway, so she's like, listen, fuck off, man. And he's like, no, man, I'm here if I want to see the Nine Tails in there. Let me get in there. I got a Pokeball. Let me catch it. And she's like, no, we don't want you. And he's like,
maybe they got a furry chicken in there with wings. Let's go. Right?
He's like, maybe you guys want, maybe I can help. Maybe we can help me. She's like, we don't need your help. Get the fuck out of here. And he's like, no. And she's like, don't make me hurt you. And he's like, I got rings. And so then they get down and she does this thing where she's like, all right, fine, fuck her. And she does, and she traces with her foot, in a pretty much
cool.
If somebody does that to you on the street, Andy, you are about to get your ass kicked. Somebody traces a 4/5 of a circle behind, they get up like this, Andy, and they're just like, all right, fine.
I pray, Greg. I pray I never experienced that. I pray. It looks like you're about to fall down.
You're gonna
way more spry than you give me credit for. Trust me. All right. If I need to get up there and do it, that's how I'm gonna. I've talked about it before on this podcast, within a podcast, right? Of if I need to fight somebody in the streets of San Francisco, first thing I do is kick off my shoes and socks, and that's when Nick was like, I would walk away. You're a crazy person. But now I have a new thing to add to it, right? Shoes, socks off, and then I do the trace circle behind me, and I come up like that, and they're gonna be like, I don't know what's about to happen.
Are you going to sing?
Start singing Hotel California?
No. See, that's what you do when you don't have thunder and lightning, all right? And I got thunder and lightning ready to roll if these people
Greg's got fucking Don Henley and Glenn Fry right here, bro.
That's what it is. So they start fighting, and it is just the most sexual fight of all time. You know what I mean? Because they're living moments in between moments where they're swinging at each other, and then they're doing the long looks at each other. And you're like, damn, man, this is fucking hot. And they're doing high kicks and back kicks, and she's kicking him in the face, and he's trying to use his rings, and sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not. She's got grass power or whatever, and I guess he's a water type or something. So she's stopping the rings and spinning the rings and shit, and there's wind happening, and they're running out. It's at one point it's a crouching tiger, hidden dragon, where they're kind of defying physics, and this is beautiful. This is insanely good. And she's like, and this is when I decided I want to fuck your father. She's telling the story, to Shang Chi, it turns out, but she's like, that's when I met him. And all this other stuff. And by the way, if you're an in review fan, of course, keep in mind that, I like to be thorough and complete, and I like to give you the plot as it happens. As you can already tell with the whole, I want to fuck your father thing. I want to give it as it happens. But this movie does that thing that they love to do. And I know these fucks over at Marvel are writing just to trick and screw with me. You know what I mean? But they're let's put in 19 flashbacks, right? And let's have each one of the flashbacks give you a little bit more information. So it's kind of hard at this point. I watched the movie once last night, just I got Nick over here. I got Andy over there. We're all fucking with Joey. I got a lot happening in this private theater. All right. So it's hard for me to remember exactly when this nugget of information was given out.
And you're coming at me with excuses, bro.
They're all going to get, well, I'm just letting you know.
A lot of excuses, Kev.
Flashbacks are going to get intermingled here, all right? So, like, when it happens, when it doesn't happen, I don't fucking know.
But anyway, she's like, though, I thought they were really well integrated into this movie. Like, sometimes they don't work so well. I thought that they did a good job of constantly having, like, certain moments that we're going back to and how it was all fleshed out and how most flashbacks would end with, like, them telling someone else a story. So it kind of, like, gave purpose to the flashback. Enjoyed that.
100%. And so,
and a lot of the flashbacks also do the really, well, I guess not the expositional flashbacks, but more of the stylistic flashbacks that I love that movies do. And I think like the first time I saw it was maybe True Detective, maybe Sharp Objects, Greg, where, or even like Inception, where it's just like, you know, dramatic moment with music, maybe a score. There's just maybe just like kind of atmospheric music, and it just cuts to a flashback but there's no sound on the other flashback.
Sure.
And it just like cuts back and forth to like other. I just love when movies do that. It's so stylistic and it makes me feel like I'm watching something real cool.
Yeah,
this is a cool movie.
You watched something real cool last night. It was called Shang Chi.
Fucking movie.
And so yeah, you know, it goes through, and this is the first time I met him, and yada yada yada, and blah blah blah. We fell in love, and yada yada yada. And I was from this, you know, the magical village and stuff. But like to, you know, live a life with him and you guys, I had to give up my powers, but it was worth it. And little kiss on his head, you know what I mean?
I thought it was a little awkward when they are doing the fighting, kind of gazing at each other. At one point, I think we laughed. I don't think we're supposed to laugh.
I liked it.
Yeah, I liked it a lot.
It felt
like,
weird
these
for me.
guys-
Where they're doing like, I think they focus just a little too long on each other, and they're like mid fight, and they do that sort of thing where they're looking at each other like, I like you too. And it made Kevin laugh, and I'm not sure it was supposed to make us kind of go, that's a funny thing, because like it's supposed to be this beautiful moment. It just felt a little weird for me.
It was childish excitement for them to bang. Because like we already know they bang, you know what I mean?
There you go.
Okay.
And so yeah, we get to see the product of the banging, which is Shang Chi, and he's getting the story from his mom, and she gives him the little emerald, and she's like, you know, I'll always be with you, kind of thing. And he's like, that's sweet, mom. Boom, and then it's present day, and we wake up, and it's Shang Chi waking up, and he's got his shitty little phone. Yeah.
One more thing, I with the intro, they introduced the rings, and I really like that they're like, we don't know if it came from the sky, like the rumor is a meteor or in someone's tomb. I like the idea that also at the end we see the Wong get together, and they're like, we don't know what the hell it is. I like the idea that it's kind of like the necromancer sword or whatever from Thor Unworthy. The Gore, the god killer, has like a sword, and like when people see it, sometimes they react all like, oh, dude, like that's. I like the idea of finding out later what it is, and like I hope that we get payoff for that setup.
Well, seems like we will, right? That's calling to somebody at the end of the movie, but we'll get to that later. For now, we're in modern day San Francisco, right? And it's an actual pretty good representation of living in San Francisco, as Shang-Chi is living in just a garage with his bed and his phone, but he's also got a little postcard there, and on it's the dragon. And his mom had mentioned the flashback. He was like, you know, the heart of the dragon or whatever, and the emerald had something to do with that. And he looks at it and he turns it over, right? And it's no text but his address and then an address in China. And he's like, that's interesting. And so he's like, I'll keep
little details I loved, and this goes to me talking about how much they just nailed the authenticity of it. Him having posters for Kung Fu Hustle and for Outcast Stankonia. I'm just like, they just nailed it. Like, if this dude from this era like would be totally into that stuff, love that. This looks just like one of my friends' rooms.
Totally, that's for sure. He does a bunch of push-ups. He's, you know, he puts on a shirt and a tie, and we're like, oh man, he's got his life put together. And then a really fancy car pulls up to a hotel, and the door opens, and the guy gets out in a suit and nice shoes, and it's not Shang-Chi, everybody. Instead, he tosses his keys over to Sean. We'll start calling him Sean here for this section of the film. And he grabs them, and he's like, yeah, I'm a valet, fuck. And then Aquafina runs up, and she's like, her name's Katie. She's like, let's take her for a joyride. He's like, no, we can't take her for a joyride. She's like, I'm taking the keys. She takes the keys, jump in, like, I can't do this. We're gonna do. And then they go and do it, of course, and they drive around this car. They're driving around San Francisco in this cool ass car, Kevin. You know what I mean? Great ass car. And so then they go to drinks with their friend from high school, and they're telling her friend's fiance, boyfriend, whatever, all the stories of her in high school and how they boosted this car from a bully, and that's when Katie, when Sean was about to get his ass kicked, Katie stepped up and saying Hotel California and distracted him and yada yada yada, and they ran out and they stole the guy's car, or she stole his keys. They went for a joyride. She was in the back seat, the friend who's there. Ha ha ha! I've never heard this story. Well, I grew up, and it's a dig, obviously, at them because she's a lawyer, and so it's like these two never grew up, and like you're the smartest people I know or whatever, you're the coolest people I know. I
said lawyers are the worst.
Did you say liar or lawyer?
Lawyers.
I see what you did there, Andy. High five.
I was joking. I got it too.
No, you didn't, Kevin. Why don't you go to the bathroom as well, Kevin? And so now it's just me and Andy, and that's what I like the best. How you doing, Andy, down there?
I'm doing pretty well, Greg.
Okay.
I'm currently I'm listening to you, obviously. Also Googling images for Shang-Chi for the thumbnail that I'm gonna make.
Nice. Okay. And so they're like, what do you mean? Like, it's just that, you don't do anything with your lives. You just park cars. You could be doing anything. You're both brilliant. You're both smart. You're both cool. Shang-Chi, you can like do really cool push-ups and stuff. Like you could be doing a lot of cool stuff. And they're like, fuck you, man. We're doing cool stuff. We're parking cars. That's awesome. And she's like, whatever. And so then it's like, you cut outside. They say goodbye to them. And then, Aquafina, Katie, and Sean are like, all right, cool. We got the early shift tomorrow. We should go home. Be responsible. Like, yeah, we could do that. And then it's a cut to them partying. Karaoke in San Francisco, which we've all done once or twice when you should be responsible and go home. No, it's fucking awesome, Tim.
That's like the first real laugh that I had.
So real.
Oh, sorry.
I'm just saying the cut to them just being knocked out is just like, God, that's so fucking real.
That's the first like real laugh that I think I had in this movie, and it just kind of keeps going up from here. But like, that's such a great sequence. It's such a funny change of pace because I am kind of wondering the whole time, what are they going to go do? Like, are they going to go clubbing? Are they going to what? Oh, okay. It's just two people in a sad karaoke bar, and it's great.
The private room, yeah. And so then it's the next morning, and Sean goes over to Katie's house, and he goes in there, and her mom lets her in, and Katie shares the house with her mom. Hold on one second. Mom, grandmother, brother, and it's just herself. Yeah, that's it. Them. Andy, what's your point?
You by any chance wonder if that's the same karaoke bar that the police raided on Cool Greg's birthday when we were all there?
It definitely was not.
I think it's based on that, though.
What?
Yeah, it's interesting though. That is.
I don't think it's a real SF karaoke room they were in, right?
I mean, like location-wise, that is close to the streets they were walking on.
But wait, there was a raiding on a karaoke bar you guys were at?
We were at a karaoke bar waiting to get a room, and then the police showed up. Because apparently some people were like, and then
only his real friends were invited, Kevin. It's not a big deal. And so then Sean shows up as he does every morning to get Katie to go get on the bus, and he sits down and he starts drinking some moche and drinking the breakfast soup they make and hanging out, and everybody's talking a little bit of shit over there, right? And the brother doesn't want to do his chores, but Sean's willing to do it if he comes to eat all the food, and then she's like, no, you gotta it's his chore, let him do it. He's like, okay, fine. And then Katie comes out, and then grandma's like getting ready for Day of the Dead, so she's got a bunch of stuff for grandpa's grave they're gonna go put out there. Last time they put out whiskey, the bottle disappeared in the morning. Big shock. Katie immediately just doesn't want to be part of this, right? Because again, they're guilting her about getting a real job or whatever, and she likes her job and yada yada yada. And she's like, you know what? Let's go. We got to catch the bus. Sean chugs his breakfast soup, and then Grandma's like, when are you gonna marry her? And he's like, ooh. And then they leave, right? And they get on the bus, and then they're on the bus, and now we're on the bus, which is cool. We're on the Muni bus, and so as we're on the bus, going, they make fun of a woman writing her term paper or whatever on a laptop on the bus. She overhears them. Like, sorry about that. She's just who she is or whatever.
She's crazy. She's Nora. She's Nora from the Bronx.
There's a lot of fun like world building stuff like on the Muni bus, like a lot of the advertisements, and like also when we see like when they're just walking on the streets, there's like a lot of posters that reference the blip and like blip support groups or there was
anxiety.
One thing, like,
anxiety about the blip. You're not alone.
Yeah, so it's cool.
Yeah, really cool, right?
When does this take place? Like, is this post Endgame? Wait, no, I'm sorry. No, I meant whatever the last movie is when they're back.
Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, no, I
guess
we don't know.
I don't think it really matters. Yeah, I don't
Damn, it's wild to me that Spider-Man Far From Home was after Endgame. I can't even. That's such a weird place in time that I don't have any frame of reference for anymore.
Tony Stark died, remember?
Yeah, that's right.
Don't mean to bring up bad memories, but he died.
He died, and he's never coming back.
Never coming back. He's over. It's over there. Yeah, there was a comment too, obviously, from her friend, right? When you guys are like wasting your lives, in a world, we're in a world where half the population could be, blinked out of existence. Like you need to live each day like your last. Like that's a cool way to think about it. Anyways, though, they're on the bus now.
Which I didn't love that argument because it's like, well, you're just saying to work.
Yeah.
Like.
We are living. If you want to live by that argument, we partied last night. What the fuck did you guys do?
Yeah.
Do your 401k taxes?
Exactly.
Squares.
Yeah, Nick, you tell him. Don't let this lawyer come in and push you around, Nick. All right.
I've never let a lawyer push me around before. Never do it again.
Thank you. What? And so they're on the bus, and then of course, one of the guys walks over and sees Sean's emerald, and he's like, "Give me that." He's like, "I don't want to give you that." And she's like, "Do you know this guy?" He's like, "No." "Why does he want your emerald?" "I don't know." And then more guys show up, right? And she's like, "Look, he can't even fight." And then he just starts fucking beating ass, just fucking whipping ass, doing cool flips and shit. And he's using the bar, and he's using the Muni as a weapon. Cool. And this is when the guy we were talking about before from Spider-Man
Goosebumps right now. I want to watch it again, dude.
Totally. God, can you imagine how great that would be? The guy from Spider-Man Homecoming busts out his phone, right? And he's like, "What's up, everybody?" Starts live streaming immediately. Like, I'm here on the bus. This guy's doing some cool fighting and shit.
I was kind of bummed he didn't say do a flip at some point.
Do a kick is what I would have loved to have.
I loved him being like, live streaming talking, be like, "Yeah, when I was young, I used to do martial arts, so I'm gonna commentate. I'm gonna rate how to do it." So fucking funny.
Yeah, I love it.
So, Sean's just beating these people senseless or whatever, but eventually this guy Razor Fist steps up. He's got no hand. You're like, "Oh, he's only got one hand. This fight might be easier." And then guess what? No, he puts a sword out of it, and he's like, "Oh fuck!" And so then he's slicing shit up, and he's slicing through the connector between the two minibus. Minibus is driving all over the place. It's being crazy.
Little blade hands.
Aquafina's flipping out, right? We got some back and forth between her and Sean in between these fight scenes. That's really great. And then the guy's filming or whatever, and then he beats the first wave, and the second. It was when the guy brought out his thing, right? Where he's like, "You can do this" or whatever, and then the guy puts out the sword. He's like, "You can't." Sorry, I take it back. Funny shit. He's going. Eventually, I forget how the bus driver gets incapacitated. I forget what happened to him.
They cut the brakes when he slices all the way around,
right.
and then the bus driver then gets smacked in the head and gets knocked out.
Bonked.
Naps out.
Yeah. And so, the bus is out of control. Of course, this is the moment Aquafina's trained her entire life for because she likes cars or whatever. She runs up there. She grabs the bus. She's driving the bus. They're shooting all over. At some point, they're brawling or whatever. And Shang Chi gets up there and he's like, "Wait for my signal. Take a hard right." And she's like, "What'll be the signal?" And he runs back, which I hate because I would always be like, "What's the signal?" And Nick could just go, "Ooh," and I'm like, "That's the signal. That's not the signal." You know what I mean? Kill him or whatever. And so they're just hurtling all over SF. They're taking the things. They're running into stuff. They're going. They crush one car. They crush another car. Nick gasps because they're nice cars. Eventually Shang-Chi gets a Razor Fist in the back of the thing, and he's like to everybody else in the back, like, "Get in the front!" And they all run and they jump in the front. And so then he gets pinned down finally, Shang-Chi, and Razor Fist got him down and whatever, and Sean reaches up and he grabs the Muni wire and pulls it for the stop requested, and that's the sign. She jerks it hard right. The second half of the bus breaks away because it was already fucked up, like we were talking about. And that gets rid of Razor Fist, and then she slams into a bunch of cars and a garbage truck to stop herself in front of Ghirardelli Square, which is where Cool Greg used to work. Everybody. So maybe in this timeline, if Cool Greg had gotten blipped, he would actually be there. It's still working. It'd be cool.
Fantastic scene. This entire thing is just MCU at its best. Thrilling combination of great movie making.
It's interesting too because there's the certain there's just a certain technique to making it feel gratifying when a scene like this happens. Because really, they're like, we've been with this character for a while. We like Sean. We like these characters. But having them be like, hey, we're having the bully come up and make you feel like, oh, I need this guy to get his ass kicked right now. That's kind of hard to do, and they did it in record time, and it was really fun to watch this. Greg Miller, kind of funny.
What I'll say is that, we get there and you're like, we know Sean at this point. I didn't feel like I did, right? And that was both, exciting, and I was like, all right, where's this going to go or whatever. And so when he just immediately starts fighting, even though I know in the trailer, again, I think they did a great job of not giving away this entire movie with trailers, right? Trailer, we've seen him fighting on a Muni bus or on the Muni bus. And even when that scene starts, I'm like, oh, this isn't going to kick off right away. This will be this will be the first time something happens on a bus, and the next, and then when he went into it, I was like, oh, fuck, he knows everything. I thought this, not knowing anything, I have no idea what his powers are, what the 10 rings are, yada, yada. I expected this movie to have a little bit more of I don't know. He finds the rings or somebody, and he learns
Right,
and it
training
awakens
sequences,
something in
things
him,
like
and,
that, yeah.
and it's like, oh shit, he just knows all this shit. Like he knows more than we do. He's hip to the game. Like, what a cool way
Greg,
to start this movie.
Listen, you don't understand it, and neither do I. But as Andy will tell you, when you wake up every day and do like 15 push-ups, you just have a different perspective on life than normal people.
Mm-hmm.
It's true. It's true. So like we said, he did all this and he beat all these people's asses, and it's fucking great. But then guess what? Emerald's gone. He doesn't have the emerald. He realized he doesn't have the emerald. Big old Razor Fist, who's on in terms of names, is on par with Taserface. Is like, I got it, and I'm a giant baby in a beard and a buzz cut, and he's like, I'm gonna get in this car, goo goo gaga, and he gets in this car that stops for him. Then they drive away. And so,
Such a weird choice, man. I did not love that actor.
Casting a baby to be Razor Fist.
No, I just like any. There was a moment he said a line and Kevin was like, "Oof, that was not a good delivery." I was like, yeah, that was not good. It just really seems like it was the friend of the director or some guy that like, oh yeah, this guy. Oh, I know a guy. He works out like crazy at the gym I go to. He's really built. Let's get him. And or if you would have told me he used to play in the NFL, I would have believed that. You know,
sure.
By the way his acting is,
You get the feeling he's gonna die, and then he doesn't, and you're like, huh. You casted him.
I just wish.
Might make
I wish that they were more comic accurate, Kevin. Can you please bring up the picture that you just slacked me? Because the world needs to see what we were robbed of with Razor Fist in this film.
Wait, really? There was an actual. I thought it was
no,
just
this is a real
created
thing.
Oh,
from
with
the
a
movie.
name that bad, I guarantee. I was like, this has got to be a comic book character.
Switch to wait, hold on. There it is.
Oh my god.
Oh,
Nick, this is your dream villain.
Oh, that is. Did anyone else just get wildly turned on right now?
he really is blade hands though. That's crazy.
Yeah.
So Razor Fist gets to the SUV and drives away. Sean realizes his thing's gone. Then we're back at Sean's apartment where he's just trying to pack up and get the fuck out. And, Katie's like, what is going on? He's like, there's no time to explain. She's like, fuck that. Sit down and explain it to me or whatever. And he gives her the truncated version of it, right? And he's like, no, I've got to go to China. She's like, why do I got to go to China? And he's like, that's where my sister is. She sent me this postcard. That's what's, I got to go or whatever. And she's like, then I'm coming with you. And he's like, no, you're not. And she's like, fuck you. I am. We've known each other for 10 years. Yada, yada, yada. And so guess what? They're all going to China. And so now we're on the plane. And I think we're actually in a flashback where Shang Chi is laying it out for her, right? Of like a little bit more, right? Of like he was trained to be an assassin by his father after his mom died. We don't know how the mom died yet. Trained to be assassin after mom died, and he was sent on this mission to go kill somebody, and then like the stewardess interrupts and asks about we get this beef chicken vegetarian.
I love that
conversation. Hilarious. I loved it because I was like, when he's narrating this, so I'm like, oh, this is on the plane. I'm assuming like he's telling Katie this thing, and then to be broken out of it by a mundane conversation of the real world and shooting on the crazy superhero world, I appreciated. I like the jokes here. Eventually they'll get back to it, right? And so she's like, did you kill him? And he's like, no, I couldn't go through with my mission or whatever. I knew I couldn't do it. I couldn't be a part of it. I can't do it. I'm not going to kill people.
Do it, Katie.
Good on you.
I'll take the beef.
So, and then he also reveals here, of course, that his name isn't Sean. It's actually Shang, or Shang. It's not Sean. It's Shang. And she has this great, obviously, joke about it too. Of like, that's like saying, no, my name's not Gina, it's Gina. Like when you go into hiding or whatever. Fucking hilarious. Really good stuff.
But that was the thing though, that line was funny, but she said something before it that didn't work.
Michael, but Mikael or something.
Yeah, I was like,
what it reminded me of is if we were doing it on a podcast.
Yes.
Where like you would jump into the pool not knowing what you're gonna say, and you'd say it, and then
we get there eventually.
4 minutes later, like, oh wait, I should have said Gina.
Yeah, I have a clip I want to play for y'all. This is what it really reminded me of.
What's his name? Come on, what's his name?
My friend
Josh Whedon.
What did I say?
I want to see what Cecil does.
You said
Joshua Wheatthing.
Okay, so a T to a D. Is that what I did? A T to a D?
But also Josh.
And an S to an H.
Josh.
It's weird. It's a very weird name.
Joss.
Joss.
It's Joss. And he did this live. We were watching, and he was like, "It's Joss." And I was like, oh, man, you're a funny kid.
That was a good moment. That was a good interview moment.
Exactly what it reminded me of her being like, you went from Sean to Shang, and then I just immediately thought, it's Joss? Like that moment. I fucking lost
Kevin was insulted by that. He was like, I'm just so surprised I'm insulted.
So he puts on headphones. She's like, "You can still hear me?" He's like, "No, I can't." Now we're in China, everybody, and it's nighttime, and we're driving around, and China looks super fucking cool. And there's like neon lights and shit, and all this cool stuff's happening. People are eating great food, and there's like a dance thing happening, like it looks like some kind of idol dance in the beginning. You're like, fuck yeah, this looks rad. I'd love to hang out there. And
I'm shocked this wasn't Mad Rapport. From all looking at the trailers, I was like, "Oh shit, they're going to the place they went to in Falcon and Winter Soldier," and it's not. And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool."
Katie's looking out the window, having a great time, super excited. Looking back at Shang, like, yeah. They get to a giant high rise. They get into an elevator. They're coming up, and he's like, "I'm here to see my sister," and the guy's not having it. Now they're really listening. He's like, "This is the address or whatever," and he passes her an iPad. He's like, "Sign. You got to sign." He's like, "All right," so I sign it. Katie makes some fun jokes about, like this, elevator's definitely up to code. It wouldn't fall off the side of the building. Yada yada yada. Doors open. There's immediately a guy there who's very energetic. It looks like he's running the club kind of thing.
Ronnie, love him. This actor is great.
He's from what again?
A ton of different things. He's a stand-up comedian.
I've seen him and stuff. It's one of those like you see him like, oh, I know you, but I don't know where I know you from. He runs in and he's like, oh, okay, cool. This is awesome, and you're awesome. Oh, and he's speaking Chinese or Mandarin, right? What am I wrong?
It's Mandarin.
Yeah, Mandarin. And so he's like, oh, yeah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, you're a YouTube guy. And he's got like the thing, like, well, however many views on the internet of you fighting the thing. Because, of course, our guy was filming in the car or whatever.
Which made me realize we need to fight people on buses.
Sure. Yeah.
You too could be bus boy, Andy.
Yeah. Bus boy. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so Katie's like, I don't speak Chinese Mandarin. And he's like, no problem. And he switches to English. And he's like, I know my ABCs too. And I was like, oh, that's funny. And so then he's basically setting it up.
I don't think you got that. ABC means American born Chinese.
Oh, I didn't know that. No. Okay.
I didn't know that.
That's really good. And so, he basically sets the whole thing right. Like you're here and this is a giant, I don't know anything about your sister. This is a giant fight thing though. And you're going to be fighting. He's like, I'm not going to fight. Hey, yeah, you are. You signed the contract, that thing in the elevator. Oh man. And he's like, don't worry about it. Like you'll have no trouble. Like do it fight in these little shitty rooms. He's like, no, you're main event since you're huge on the internet, bus boy. And you're going to be fighting in there. And that's when we go up there and it's Abomination fighting Wong or whatever.
Or that though. Walking by all the different rooms where you see people fighting. Like there's a couple people I'm not able to identify. But there's a extremist soldier guy, fighting a Black Widow that we saw in the movie Black Widow.
Oh, neat.
Like same actors. Cool. Yeah.
Is that when he stops and he's like, whatever her name is, you're doing great, something, whatever?
I don't.
The boy Ronnie stops, makes a reference to someone in a thing, like, yeah, whatever her name is.
No.
I was like, I don't know who any of these people are.
Yeah. I don't remember about that, but it was the scene that like they showed like the sumo wrestler guy, and then like the camera turns over, and like it's the ones we saw the most of the fight of.
Okay, and then it's Wong and Abomination up there. They're fighting. Wong's doing his best to survive. Abomination's real big, of course. He's doing that, and finally, Wong, his little sigils keep getting smashed or whatever, and then he does the open the portals thing, and Abomination knocks himself out, and so then you'll be fighting.
But then they like walk off as buddies.
Yeah, it's weird,
right?
I'm really interested.
What did I tell you about that? I'm like, that's awesome.
I mean, yeah, he like definitely is like breaking him out and like putting him back into where is he? He's on the raft, right?
Raft,
yeah. Like that.
Is that what that was? Like you guys all were like, or some people were like, "Oh my god!" And I was like, "I don't know what this place is."
Well, I mean, it was like red lasers in a like dark black and gray.
Yeah, it looked like futuristic tech.
Yeah, I assumed it was the raft.
It wasn't.
Yeah, I assume it was.
That's the Sanctum Sanctorum or wherever Wong usually thinking that.
I wonder if that has anything to do with Hulk, like being more involved in their life post all these movies.
Yeah, really. I mean, it was definitely there with a purpose. So, like, Abomination being in this movie is so random, especially with Wong, especially them being friends. No. So it's like cool as shit. Where it's just like, hey, here's this little tease for something.
And the fact that I think there has been an interview since where they did mention, like, this is kind of important. So, like, just keep an eye on. This is just some random cameo. It's really important.
And so now Sean's got to fight in there. Shang-Chi's got to fight in there, and so he's backstage. That's where we have this conversation between Wong and Abomination about first off, there's the funny thing of like 7 guys trying to drag Abomination out. Then he's like, Wong's like, watch your right hook or whatever, and then he opens the portal to walk him back to wherever he's from or whatever. So you wonder what's going on with that. If terms is just like he knew he could fight him, and if it's how staged it is versus whatever, we'll find out maybe later on. And more of it's being laid out for Shang-Chi here of like, all right, cool, yeah, you get a fight, you get blah blah, you fought off all these people on the bus, one person won't be any trouble, there's a big bet on you too, we get a cut, yeah, blah blah blah. So then it's right to the fight. They introduce him as busboy. He comes out. He's got no shirt on. Aquafina is taken aback by the abs on him.
Were they born in lambs? Now it's time to rank those abs.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another podcast here for the MCU in review. My name is Nick Scarpino. I'll be your tour guide on this podcast of Rank Those Abs. I don't know where that list is, Andy, so we'll just talk very generically about it. He looked great.
You've never written the list down.
I mean, I had a list at one point that had Hugh Jackman on like the top 5 spots.
Sure.
But, I don't know how this is going to work. No, he looks great. His physique in this movie is great. And again, like, shit, if I could look at like 1/8 of how he looked, I'd be pretty happy for the rest of my life. Congratulations.
Yeah, he looked fantastic. And also the lighting made it look even more bulbous, Everything looks so pronounced.
Sure. 100%.
Get close to the camera real quick, Greg. Everything looks so pronounced.
It's so bulbous.
Yeah.
So then, they introduce his opponent, and it's this. I think she comes out with the hood up or whatever, right, or whatever. But then she takes off the hood, and he's like, "Sister," and it's his sister, and it should be a happy reunion, right? It's kind of like I know him from work, and it is not a happy reunion. Like she comes out, and she's like, ah, and she's punching and shit, and he's like, no, and they're fucking kicking him in the face and shit, and he's like, I don't want to fight you, and they, I don't want to, and he throws her at one point. He's like, I don't want to fight you, kind of shit, blah blah blah. And so then, they're going and they're announcing yelling or whatever. And eventually, he calms her down enough to be like, listen, I don't want to fight you. Dad's coming. He took my thing, or maybe he doesn't say it here, but he's basically, Dad's coming to kill you. He's he's trying to get me or whatever. And she thinks about it, and then she does like Shawn Michaels super kick, but over his shoulder behind him or whatever, just like jacks his head, and he goes down knocked out. It was really cool. And so then, he was like looking through the glass or whatever, and Aquafina's like, yeah, good job. So then it's backstage or whatever again, where, he's there after getting his butt kicked, and Ronnie and sister come in, and they're like, hey, and he's like, and he's like, oh, and, everybody's like, and she, and like they have the whole conversation or whatever,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? This is where it's like, oh, he took my emerald, he's going to take your emerald too, why doing this? She's like, you left me for dead, blah, 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 yeah, blah, 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 blah. I don't think we get the flashback here, but we might get the flashback here, but it's the idea, right, of like, oh, yeah, you said you were going to go away for 3 days, but you never came back. And it took, I think this actually happens way later, but I'm putting it here anyway. I waited 3 days, and I waited a week, and then I went to mom's thing. And then after 6 years, I let you go because I realized you weren't coming back or whatever. And, this might be too, where we see the montage of him training and doing the thing where he's punching the log, right? And then we see her training, and like they won't let her train, but then she goes out and gets that fucking like triangle of metal on a fucking rope.
The coolest weapon of all time. The kunai.
What is it?
Kunai. Spelled with a CH.
It's the things you throw in it's CH?
But I guess,
isn't it?
it's KU. Well, it doesn't matter. I mean, this might
kunai,
be
like you're talking about, is the where from Ghost, right? Those
like you
the
put on a string.
But then
the one
is, right?
The stringed
Maybe.
weapon is the coolest thing of all time, and it lets you have, just like in Mortal Kombat, we see that awesome moment at the beginning, the way that opens up. This stringed weapon gives you so many possibilities for cool choreography, and they nail it every time. There's so many creative ways that she uses this goddamn thing, and anytime it was busted out, I knew I was in for a ride, because she figures out ways to even kill people without the blade. Like, she gets 2 people just with the ropes and smash them together. It's so fucking cool.
So she's
It is with a K. I learned something today.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go. So that's dope. She's dope. She was learning to do all this stuff when they went to teach her, and when he left, she's like, I'll just fucking do it myself. And so
I don't buy that like someone can just learn by like watching. That's like learning from like reading a book, and we know how ridiculous
she
that
can
is.
hear stuff. She can hear stuff.
I'm sorry. I'm fucking sorry.
He's sorry.
Now, Kevin. Are you saying to me that someone can't learn martial arts by watching another human being learn, unless they're a small rat? Is that what you're fucking saying to me right now?
Yeah, it's absurd.
Okay. That's okay.
Anyone can cook, guys. Anyone can cook.
Looks like Nick was right all along.
I've been
Right? I mean, yeah, clearly.
You're gonna hit one of these days.
Maybe the Aston Martin car was a bad decision.
I mean, God damn it, Greg. What's your read on The Departed? Are we gonna go all the way here? Are we
bump
gonna
into
go all the way,
walls too
people?
much, you know what I mean?
Exactly. So much sweat. So much
Clerks is a
comedy.
better trilogy than Lord of the Rings. And so then they're having this whole argument, doing all these different things out there, right? And this thing and the other. And like, that's why'd you want me to come here? Why'd you send me the postcard? I didn't send you a postcard. What are you talking about? And he busts out the postcard and she looks at it, she's like, I didn't send this. And all lights go out and it's like, fuck, it's happening. It's over. Like they're here. The 10 rings are here. So 10 rings, dude, they start infiltrating. And so then Shang-Chi and Katie like look over at it, right? And then they look back and Sister and Ronnie are getting into a private elevator and the door closes and Ronnie flicks them off and it shuts.
You're like, Ronnie, we were homies, dude.
I know, right? It sucks. Katie looks over and she's like, they're gone, man. They're in the wind. And he's like, they fucking abandoned us. And then you look out there and you got Razor Fist and you got all the guys just electrifying people. And like, usually like I'd be like, for me, this kind of shit pops off and I would just be like, well, do your thing. But they're fucking with civilians. They're fucking with everybody there. They're poking, they're prodding, they're doing the thing, man. 10 rings. You suck. You know what I mean? There should be rules.
Really rude people. Yeah.
Really rude. You know what I mean? I don't remember like Clawsmen fucking people up in that Black Panther casino, right? They were just like, we're here to get out of here. We're doing the deal. It doesn't matter. Anyways, though, Shang's like, you know what? Peace out. We got to go. We're going out the window. Come with me. We'll get on this bamboo construction equipment stuff out here. And Katie's like, I don't think so. And he's like, you got to trust me. Come on. It's the only way we stay in there. We're going to die or whatever. She's like, okay. So she comes out and they start like skittering across and doing their thing. And then glass gets shot out. And then guess what? There they are. The 10 rings dudes there. And these 10 ring dudes, they start coming down. And Shang's like, you just got to get over there, Katie. I'll do the rest. And he's like, wow. And he's whipping around the fucking bamboo and he's kicking things. And he punched me. And it's just fucking awesome.
All the action here, so goddamn cool, and finding out cool ways to like jump on planks and hit people with them, and then walk over a guy who's trying to save his life, and then that dude falls, and this whole sequence is just so goddamn cool. And I know I'm having a good time when I'm kind of like almost laughing in the same way that when I watch John Wick sequences. And I'm just like, oh my God, that was
creative.
so cool.
Yeah,
and so much of this has all of the ingredients for a dope ass fight scene. And it definitely was, with all the cool choreography of Shang going through all of the sort of levels and finding cool ways to escape. God damn, this is all so cool.
I love that it kind of had the energy of like a pachinko machine of like the thing falling down, but it's like with people fighting. And I'm just like, this is rad. You nailed it, guys.
I had to take off my headphones for a moment while I was putting on my sweater, but the moment where, what?
Are you chilly?
Yeah, a little bit.
I'm glad you put on a sweatshirt then. I want you to say.
I spilled salsa on my shirt, and I just couldn't come here
mid show.
Yeah.
So wait, so you left when you left the microphone.
To get some
try to get it real quick.
I had
chips and
headphones
salsa.
on.
No, I know that. No, I'm not saying you weren't doing
yeah.
your job. You left the camera.
Guys, I fucked up. I didn't have lunch. I took like a 20-minute nap. Then I was in the hammock for like 30 minutes. I didn't do a lunch.
So you didn't nap in the hammock. What is the hammock for? Just to stretch your back
I
out?
took a 20-minute nap. Then I had my cool down for 30 minutes in the hammock.
And then I thought, you know,
I was looking at TikTok.
I was looking at TikTok with my hands.
Guys,
I can't. TikTok.
Guys, I don't schedule when I take a nap and lie in the hammock.
That's so funny.
I'm doing.
But anyways,
on this,
so like, my question is this, Kevin: was the salsa the destination when you left the microphone, or was it just an offshoot? Like you're like on the way to the bathroom, and then you saw the salsa. That happens to me all the time. I run upstairs to get something, and then I'm like, oh wait, I get that too.
No, I was like, I'm gonna go eat 4 chips.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. And then just blah.
Yeah.
And then we busted.
And then it fell off, and I was like, I'm not coming back to these jackals with salsa on my shirt.
Smart, Kevin, because if you remember earlier today, when you were trying to sneak a burrito behind Paula's back, I said, you're going to spill on yourself. She's going to know. Okay. And you said, no.
You might have been right. But the moment where, oh, man. Oof. What's the name of his friend? No, the name is Katie. I was right there. When Katie falls, and we have that dramatic, like, she's dead. Like, we get that shot.
Oh,
it's so cool. And it really,
the bamboo breaks, right?
like, I feel like the music also quiets down. We're in slow-mo. And then the fucking sister pops out and catches her.
With her legs?
With her legs. It was such a cool shot.
In general, I think the sister was a big surprise for me. Like going into this, like I didn't expect her to be as involved as she was and as badass as she was. Like I feel like we kind of left this movie with multiple new superheroes, which is cool.
Yeah,
And
that's
super
because
villains.
I mean,
for a movie
she's a
called
bad person now.
oh, she's gonna be a villain. But for a movie called Shang Chi, like having a character like that you would think it's a delicate balance to make sure she doesn't upstage him, and I think they complemented each other very nicely. It was fun to watch them both fight.
When Katie is falling, I thought they're not gonna kill
Dead.
her, but are they?
Kill her.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I
For a
thought,
minute,
like
I
a
was-
part of me legitimately thought like, oh shit. Like as she's falling, a million thoughts run through my head, and I'm thinking, is this going to be like a revenge mission? How are there's no way they're going to kill her, but maybe they are. Like I don't know what new Marvel is going to do. Who knows? And it was still a really cool save from the sister. Shout out to her.
But yeah, that happens,
sorry.
and then
One more thing. I really love how Katie after that is just like super on the sister's side and is constantly like, "You're really cool." Like, thanks for doing this. That she's constantly like complimenting and like building her up. I love that.
remember she liked her pants too. The sister liked her pants. Anyways,
They were ugly pants.
they were bright
Innocent.
though. I
The
appreciate
melon
that. They're
pants? No, thank you.
a loud choice, and I appreciate that. But once the sister gets reintroduced and starts kicking the shit out of everybody with Shang, we get that conversation. He's like, "You left us for dead." She's like, "Now you know how it feels." And he's like, and then they're still fighting people, whatever. And then it happens, right? The guy who reminds me of like Deathstroke, right? I forget what is his name though.
Death
You got
Dealer.
the who?
Death Dealer.
Nah, no. Okay, fine. I mean, whatever.
This
Death Dealer.
scene is really funny to me. Like I've seen the movie twice now, and both times it caught me
Right.
where him making his little appearance where he kind of like spiders down, like upside down. It's really off-putting.
creepy.
It's
Yeah,
creepy
100%.
shit.
And that's honestly so yeah, he comes down, they start fighting or whatever. I love how much this guy stood out, and I know we were talking about it earlier, I think from maybe it was a Nick and a little bit more a negative thing. I like the way he was used, where I like that he wasn't like a mid boss in terms of like we're gonna get this again, like something I would have predicted that would have happened if I was watching the movie. You pause the movie, where are we going with this character? I'm like, oh, he'll be one of the final fights we have to do to finish the thing. I like the fact that he is this just dude on the team that has a very distinct style that it makes you remember him outside the rest of these guys who are all wearing their Ted Rings badges or has a razor fist. Anyways, though, he comes down. He's weird. Shang-Chi starts fighting him. They're fighting, they're brawling. It's a really good fight. They're kicking the shit out of each other in the the warehouse room or whatever. There's they're backlit by a helicopter light again. It's really cool choreography. So sick. But eventually, Shang gets the upper hand. He has the thing where he could do like the killing blow, and then like the rings come in, right? Wasn't it the rings?
We get that cool little flashback of all the times that Death Dealer has kind of gotten Shang and gotten the better of him in fights, and having all the disappointment from the dad, and Shang being like, all right, here's my chance. I want to murder this person. And then father comes along. But I just love all the knife choreography, all those sort of homages to, or at least homages for us to Falcon Winter Soldier and Cap fight with all the knife dropping and tossing. It's so sick.
Yeah. That's really cool. But Daddy's here. Daddy's home, as Nick would say. And he's like, "I've missed you, son." He does the thing where he puts his the head to him. I'm looking forward to my when my son's born for a few reasons, but number one is like taking him and putting my head to his head, and then like as he gets older, head to head contact. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then we'll do that thing, Kevin, where for a while we have similar size heads and stuff, but then I'll start shrinking because I'm gonna get old and die, and he does it. We're just constantly doing this head thing. Tim, what I need you to do is commit right now, and it's gonna be a lot, I know, but commit right now to take a photo of me with my child head to head once a week. For the rest
Once
of
a
my life.
week. Holy shit.
Because I'm one of those time lapse videos.
Time-lapse.
people get.
I
There's a
think
lot
you
of
could-
time lapse videos of like, watch me grow a beard, watch my plant grow. How many baby to dead dad head to head videos have you seen on YouTube, ladies and gentlemen?
shit.
And I swear to
Dead dad. Why
God,
do you have to be
if I
dead?
see anyone putting this video out before me and you have like a hashtag KFBF in your Twitter bio, I will sue your child on right. That is copyright infringement. This is a copyrighted idea, Andy.
Okay.
Andy, lean in. Secret talk time. It's a copyrighted idea, Andy.
Oh, okay. Good to know.
That's not how that
Um,
works.
We also get the really, really cool line of the dad doing the head-to-head thing and then being like, I told all these people that there's not a shot they can kill you. And I'm glad to see I was right. What a cool fucking line.
That was such a good... And
So
that
dope.
line, the way he delivered it, like, you could tell instantly he was like, oh, he's not
was
like...
proud.
He's not here to kill them. He's proud. He's just
Yeah.
literally like, come on, let's go, kids. Dope.
So
He's
cool.
like a cool Ra's al Ghul. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to hang out with this guy, Let's
Have a
party.
beer with him.
Give me 5 of the rings. You take 5 of the rings. Let's do some ski. You know what I mean?
They're
Wow, who's got
they're
this stuff?
identical characters, right? Like
Yeah,
Ra's al
yeah,
Ghul, like lived through,
they both have their own league of assassins, right? They train the whole thing, they do
yeah.
the thing.
But also Ra's al Ghul is immortal essentially, right? Because the pool.
Yeah, the Lazarus pit too.
Yeah, that's it. Little pool he hangs out at.
Yeah, a little hot though. Anyways, we go now to the Ten Rings base. You know what I mean? In Daddy Mac's like, all right, you guys chill out in your old rooms. I'm gonna go do my thing. And so, like, sister goes to her room with Aquafina, and she's like, oh, your room was cool or whatever. And then it was this whole thing of like, oh, a little catch up here. I think this is where we get the flashback, maybe of her not getting trained, but her training herself. I'm sorry, Nick, go ahead.
Sorry, I forgot to ask this. Who sent the postcard?
The dad. He thought it'd be easier to pick
right?
them up together.
Okay.
He was
Yeah, I
like,
think it
this
was-
will be fine. I'll pick you guys up together.
Yeah, it's save on gas money. I don't want to go to San Francisco.
Yeah.
All right?
But he still sent people to San Francisco.
But
it's
he
like
didn't go.
Well,
it's
yeah,
like because
he
if you
sent-
fly into SFO,
This
it's a lot.
guy's
it's a
literally
long trip.
immortal. What's he worried about time for? He can't go to San Francisco.
He doesn't want to like he actually is pretty frugal and he doesn't want to pop for like business class on the
He's
plane.
like my mom. He's like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay here and watch fucking Law and Order SVU. You're gonna come to me. You're gonna come.
Exactly. Aquafina and her talk here. She recaps, her backstory here, the sister of how, she kind of did the whole thing. And then like, wait, so you broke out of this place and you left and you started your own international fight club. And she's like, yeah, if they won't let me fight, I'll fight my own fights or fight. And Aquafina's like, yeah, that's cool. I forget. She says like maybe hell yeah or something like that. I didn't like this line.
She's like,
but
hell yeah.
Yeah. Also in there, Aquafina laid out the thing of like, your dad kind of creeps me out. Like, what should I, do? She's like, just don't even fucking look at him. If you stay quiet, he'll forget you're there like he did me. Then Shang-Chi, he's over in his room or whatever, right? And his room's just full of shit and stuff. I forget what's going on over there. But
quick
he's in the
question
room.
here.
Yeah.
Does the dad ever talk to Katie? Because I feel like we get.
Yeah, it's coming up in a second.
Hey, he talks about it at the dinner table.
Yeah,
It says,
we're coming up in
what's
2 seconds.
What's your
Hey,
Chinese
we're
name?
2 seconds, Nick.
No. See, I misspoke. Not Katie, the sister. Do we ever get a scene where they're talking?
No, she's dead.
that's-
We
Does
already
this-
went over that.
Does this movie pass the Coelho test? You know what I mean? The Coelho test, of course, is when a movie lets a dad talk to his daughter. You know what I mean? It's a great question, Kev.
Well, I
It's a
mean,
great
I just
question.
think that like if really in the whole movie they never talk, like that's such good like design of like her being like
Commitment to the bit.
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. And yeah, we probably get a flashback here.
Also,
Shang-Chi.
Sorry,
training-
one last thing.
Do
When
your
they
thing, bro.
when they said sister, I was like, he has a fucking sister because I don't know.
Yeah, me too.
Again, yeah, I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I thought they had done a good job of like, again, this is where I was talking about with the flashbacks being a bit confusing for a recap purpose of like, we'd seen the recap and his mom talking to the kid. You're like, okay, cool. And then you're like, oh, there was a sister there the whole time. I like that reveal. Harder to recap. From there, we go to the dinner table as we were talking about, right? And yeah, everybody's there eating cool food. And this is when the dad is like to Katie, like, what's your name? And she's like, Katie. And he's like, what's your Chinese name? And she goes, the Chinese name. And he's like, names mean something, but blah, blah. And he talks more about like, my name used to be this or whatever, blah, blah, blah. He's like, speaking of names meaning something, everybody. I've been around forever doing cool, crazy terrorist kind of shit forever. And like, this moron over in America, he took my name a couple years back, right? And but he didn't know what my name was other than the 10 rings. So what do you call? He named himself after a chicken dish. You know what I mean? Hey, Mandarin. Now people are afraid of an orange. I also appreciate that nobody knew at the table what he's talking about. Like you guys remember? He's such a dad. He's like, you guys remember this thing a couple years back? And they're all like, no, Dad, we don't remember what you're talking about. How many years ago was this? A lot of people have taken over the TVs. All right,
Yeah, we've dealt with
people
a lot
take
of
over the
shit,
TV
man.
and threaten the president every other week in this goddamn universe.
You don't remember like Iron Man? He died. Everybody thought he was dead.
Nah.
He challenged people to come to his house.
Yeah,
It was the
and
whole thing.
A little kid
I
walked
like
up to him
it.
and was like, "You're dead, according to everybody else." A little fucking stupid kid.
I also like the idea that he was like, yeah, you remember that like that whole thing happened, but also like I kind of created Iron Man. Like it's my like we kidnapped him that time too.
Yeah.
Did he say that? He didn't reference that.
No,
did he?
I'm saying I like the idea in that conversation that he would have been like, yeah, that's right. I started all of this off.
Do you
My
think
fault.
were they official 10 rings people? I know they had the 10 ring thing, but I
They
mean, like,
were.
was this like a side hustle for them working with Obadiah, or was it like this is like official 10 rings business?
No, they got to get their guns from somewhere, right? They're not manufacturing guns. They were buying guns and explosives and stuff right from Obadiah.
Yeah, they wanted the Jericho
Oh,
missile. Remember
yeah.
Jericho missile?
But really, all they end up using is just these weird little hook swords.
Electrified things and stuff.
Yeah.
Anyways, I digress. Back at the dinner table, that all happened. Mander's stuff gets laid out. I think yeah, this is where we lay out a bit more of the, like, Shang's not down with this plan or whatever, and he's like, no, you got to be like, it's about your mother or whatever. And he's like, what are you talking about, Dad? And so then they go into Dad's study, and he's got even more maps, and she's like, I found even more maps while you guys were gone. Like, I've been really fucking all about this crazy place your mom used to live, because when she fell in love with me.
I'm a cartographer,
We got pregnant. Yeah, I'm big on cartography. We went back and we're like, hey, can the family come back into the village? And they were like, no, they locked us out because they're assholes. And it turns out they've got this weird vault, and it's a fucking black like slate they put in front of it, and behind it they've put your mom's spirit to torture her. And like, they've just trapped her there, and they won't let her go either way. And I know, because she's been talking to me. I can feel her breath on my cheek. I can feel her hand on my back. And let me tell you, it's your mom. And they're like, well, I don't really buy that. And like, it's your mom, motherfucker.
Daddy-o, you are crazy, Daddy-o. Like, you're 1,000 years old. You're senile. You're past senile.
Exactly. I like this because for a minute I was like, has he like really gone good? Is he like, And then later it's like, oh, he was actually being manipulated by someone. And there is also the doubt of like, oh, he's just crazy. That's a good setup.
Yeah.
And so eventually he's like, if I'm so crazy, your mom's been leaving clues our entire lives. Like, no, he hasn't, Daddy-o, you're crazy. And he's like, if not, what about this? And he does like a little magic trick and pulls out the 2 pendants.
And they're like, Coolio, Daddy-o.
He puts on this dragon's eyes, and he's like, Draggy-o, Sucky-o, Watery-o. And water's coming out every orifice.
I hated that. When the fucking emeralds go on the dragon, I was like, that's some cool glasses right there on the dragon. Like, this dragon looked like he was wearing cool little swimming goggles.
He looked like Morpheus. There it is.
From Matrix.
No, the glasses reminded me of was that one gif in Spy Kids where the glasses, like, that little gif you always see on the internet? It reminded me of those kids' glasses, where the kid in Spy Kids has the zoom in lenses or whatever.
I'm tired of your story, Nick Scarpino from kindoffunny.com.
I'm sorry. Can we just vote that the reference is Morpheus?
Thank you. It is Morpheus.
That's fine.
I'm with Andy.
No, you're not. You don't even know what Andy's talking about. You've never seen Spy Kids.
Tim, would you like to rebut?
On Spy Kids now?
Tim, would you like to rebut that?
I think he froze. I think Tim froze.
No, he didn't freeze.
Tim, if you don't say anything, we're good job, Tim.
Go fucking eat some salsa, bitch.
God
damn. So yeah, and then he's like, the water thing happens. He's like, listen, I found a way into what's it called? Talo. I found a way into Talo.
TL from now on, like the tenderloin.
I've already forgotten what. Don't even bother correcting me. It's once a year, once a week. I don't know. There's something you can only get into every so often. When the corn's as high as an elephant's eye, or some shit like that. You know what I mean? You know how they do this mystical stuff. And so they're like, listen, the water did a cool thing where it traced. Well, it maybe even do that. It traced it. We got a way in. We're going. You're coming. We're gonna save your mom. I need your help. I need your help. We don't believe you. I need your help. I need your help to save your mom. And they're like, we don't believe. And then like he's like, we're gonna do it anyway. And then Shang-Chi's like, the fuck we are. We're not doing this. And he's like, oh really? And he gets his ass whooped in 2 seconds. Does Dad hit him? Somebody else hit him? I forget. Somebody hits him.
Dad knocks the fuck. His
dad knocks him down.
Fucks him up. He fucks up sister, and it's like capture them. And then Awkwafina's like, what are you doing? And then they capture her, and they're like, send him the fuck away. Say get him out. So
they all get thrown into the dungeon. On the premises, right? And this is where Awkwafina's like, or maybe it was earlier, but I like it either way. I'm just like, what is going on? You know what I mean? Like, I thought maybe your dad was just crazy, and then he just did this whole thing where he made a map out of water, and I don't understand what the fuck's happening. And like, it can't be true. I thought Mom's stories of this other dimension full of weird creatures that look like Pokemon were just, stories, fairy tales, but maybe they are true. We don't know. They're not true. Maybe they're true. Maybe I don't know. Who knows what's happening? But we're not sure. And while they're bitching about this, sister comes back. Bah! She like punches through this brick wall or whatever. She's like, there's tunnels underneath the compound. This is how I snuck out, you morons. They're like, that's great. And then there's a creepy sound. I'm like, what the hell is that creepy sound? And so they go into the dungeon and they do a couple of different twists. And they open up the thing. And who do we find? We find Trevor, our boy. That's right. Sir Ben Kingsley over there, right? The Mandarin himself. And
honestly, like, to me right here at this point, everything from here on out, I feel like Trevor is kind of the savior for the mood of it. Because although, again, I love everything else about what's happening, I feel like Trevor adds the perfect I don't even know what to call it. Like obviously it's a lot of just comedic relief, but his addition to this movie made this a much higher ranking than what I would have had it prior if he didn't show up at all. He's an X factor. I'll call it that.
Okay. Greg Miller, kind of funny.
Yeah, I was a question for Andy. Also, is
go ahead.
Don't worry about it. I know better. The timing, the gap would have been not good enough for it. Anyways, so they find him. He lays it out right of like he's Trevor. He was the man. Did you see me on TV? They're like, we didn't see you on TV. And he's like, oh well, I love his recap of it. Right of like, listen, I thought this guy was a producer. He hired me to be this thing. Turns out he wasn't a producer. He was a super villain. We did this whole thing, but everybody got there just for rewards. He got blown up by Iron Man. I got sent to jail. And he's like, oh, they broke you out. They broke me out to murder me, but it was the best thing that happened. It got me clean, got me back to my art. So that, they brought me here. And then, when they were about to execute me, I did a thing from Hamlet and they all loved it. And so I've been doing a show every week for everybody. They can't get enough.
I can't imagine him like going into a monologue and everyone being like, check it out, dude. It's
great. They fucking love this shit. They love this shit.
I love this. I love him being in this movie, and like it's just like this fucking character is just so great, and it's like one of the few characters ever that's unique to the MCU. Like it's not from the comics at all, and thank God for it because it's
Korg to Ragnarok for me.
It is. It is very Korg.
He's the Korg of this movie for me, where it's like I didn't know I needed it, but now that I have it, it is fantastic, and I'm so happy it's here.
I love that he's then from here on out in the movie the entire way, because like when people had said like, oh, Iron Man 3 would be a good one to watch or whatever, wink, and then they put out the the one shot we talked about in Iron Man 3 in re-review. I was like, okay, cool. And then I remember he was at the premiere. I'm like, cool. He's clearly in it, but I thought it would be, oh, hey, I'm here. Let me give you the next thing to get you on your journey, which of course is Morris and is amazing.
Shout out to the people that shout out to the doubters and the haters. When Tim said,
these people.
I've already seen the movie. We're doing an Iron Man 3 rewatch. And there's a lot of people who are like, what? They mentioned the 10 rings for like 2 seconds of that fucking movie. Why are we rewatching it? Trust Tim Geddes, okay?
Trust me.
I believe in Tim Geddes. He knows,
Andy.
all right?
Spy Kids for life.
Stuff those words down your throat like worms, okay?
Stuff your worms.
Andy, come in for a secret.
Stuck your worms in a sock.
Andy, come in for the secret.
What's up, big dog?
Nick, you can come in too. Tim, Kevin, please lean further back. What we're saying is we did notice when we put up Iron Man 3 in re-review, a lot of you whiny ass bitches were like, oh man, this seems unneeded. You owe us now $10 on Patreon. All right. You know what I mean? Come on. And I know you're like, I don't want to give you $10. I'm like, too bad. This is a legally binding contract, copyright.
Mm-hmm. Copyright.
So yeah, as he lays out his whole thing or whatever, like we said, Morris runs out and they're like, well, what the hell is that? And he's like, what? And they go, that thing down there, it's got no, he's like, oh, you can see Morris. I thought it was just a hallucination. That's amazing. He says he comes from his other, dimension, that your so dad stole him and brought it. So fucking good, right? Of course. And like he doesn't have a face. Like, oh, don't bring that up. He's kind of sensitive about that. Yada yada yada. And he's like, oh well, he's like, we're going back to that place. And he's like, well, he can take you there right now. He says, if like, okay, cool. And so this is now the group, man. We break out with this group and we get into they go to steal a car. They steal razor fists. Nobody likes that or whatever. Right?
You can see.
They send down. So good. And like again, it is so like Korg and Meek. You know what I mean? It's so Korg and is Meek or Meek? Meek. Right? Yeah, I got it.
God bless Razor Fist as his character, but I simultaneously love and hate that he drives like the 3 series of the crossover SUV for the BMW. Like you'd think he'd drive something a little bit bigger, like an X5 or an X6 or something. It's like the smaller, like gas fuel efficient version of the car. I'm like, all right.
But it's also like it's weird. It's just I feel a weird out of character thing. Let me get this damn thing off. It's breaking, piss me off. It's a weird out of character thing of like this Ten Rings guy having a car with his name plastered on it. It was just weird, but it's whatever.
Why is that, Greg? The whole thing is a super secret organization that doesn't like to advertise that they exist, and this guy's like Razor Fist.
This whole thing smacks of just I don't know. If it felt so much like Taserface to me, like they were trying for a Taserface thing. I don't know.
I think it's just like so tonally out of place. If you're gonna make him be this character with his name, you got to have it be an actor that has comedic chops. Charisma. You got to make the character. You got to make the character more than what it is. And it ended up just being this person that I don't care if I ever see in the MCU ever again.
I know. It's exactly like Andy Serkis. Great, Andy, you're right.
No, that's
No,
not
we
true.
liked Andy. I think that they killed him a little early. We could have gotten a little more. I feel
Yeah,
like, right?
he's cool. Claw is cool. Yeah.
So, anyways, now they're down there in Taserface's car trying to get away, and then the Ten Rings security comes down and they're trying to stop them. They're driving around, and then how can you do a cool fight scene? This one of the dudes jumps through from their car window. He gets pulled into Shang Chi's car, and they're fighting the back seat, and then they knock that guy out, and then they're hurtling towards the wall, but they need a hand to open the thing, and they grab the hand, they slam the hand on the thing, and then boom, the door opens up, and then they boom hit the film on it, they close the door, boom hit those guys, and then they get out.
I love Shang throwing that fucking weapon in the motorcycle spokes and that dude flipping. Like, there's so much cool bike shit happening, man.
I love how much this movie has characters getting out of vehicles and like fighting around it and shit. Like both the bus and this scene, really cool choreography with that.
And so now we have the go juice, right? And so Dad's like, fuck them, or we'll see him later, kind of thing. Like, we got to prepare for us to go do this. We're gonna go save my wife then in the enchanted forest. So everybody prep for dawn in whatever, dawn in 2 days, 1 day, whatever it is. And then our team, we catch back up with them at the opening of the forest, chilling out there, where Trevor lays out the thing again of like what got him into acting, Planet of the Apes, right? And how he couldn't understand, how he couldn't believe they got apes to ride the horses or whatever.
I love
and he
it.
still doesn't. It's so good.
I love
it's
it.
So
Nobody. Everyone's like, we can't correct him. We just can't do it.
Yeah, he's come too far this way, right?
Come too far.
And then it's finally like, all right, well, cool. When is Morris going to tell us to go? And he's like, well, Morris is an enchanted creature, and he says, go now. And like, stay in the pocket. And like, this whole scene, I know we were talking about shit about the forest a little while ago, Andy, in the beginning of this video 4 hours ago, but like I liked this in the tension of it and the character reactions here of like, you got to stay in the pocket. What's the pocket? I don't know. And they're going around and like,
I think it's cool shit. Yeah.
Yeah. The way Trevor's calling out the rights and lefts, the way they're getting through it, all these different things. Eventually, it closes in, takes off a mirror, gets really close to crushing them all, but they get through at the very last second, plowing into a thing of water where they find, of course, the waterfall. And Morris says, drive through the waterfall. And so after some banter,
Bloody Bud is on fire.
He says that's okay. It's one of his. He knows them. They drive through, and see all sorts of weird wackadoo animals over here, right? They got the nine tails. They got these flaming things. We see more Morrises hanging out over there, right?
Nine tails looks so cool.
Looks really
cool.
And you get the weird horse things.
Nah, perfect. Man.
Weird horse. Why is this horse looking at me?
Why is this horse looking at me? It's a weird looking horse. Why is it looking at me? And said off screen, by the way. Like they just were like, he said it. You could tell he said it, and they were like, we don't need to show it, but it was just off screen. Yeah. Why is he looking at me? And that made me laugh harder than anything else. In the rest of the movie.
And so then, eventually they drive up on the village and all the villagers come out with their giant cat creatures. And they're like,
and these things look amazing. They were so visually good looking that there were times where I'm like, that looks like an animatronic. The shading and the lighting on these are so good. I'm not going to say the CG in the whole movie was great because there was some stuff that looked not great and there was some clear green screen things. But these creatures were so nicely rendered, and they looked fucking awesome. I love the size of them. They looked like animatronics sometimes when they were laying down. It was so well done. Great job to the CG team.
The old man in front's like, get out. We don't want you here. You can't be here. Leave. And they're like, that sucks. And then an older woman comes out and she's like, shut up. They can stay. Hello, I'm your aunt. I'm your auntie. And like, it's cool to see you. And, I knew your mom and yada, yada. And so they hug and your family here and they hug Katie too. And she's like, oh, we're hugging. And so here's where we get, now we go to the shrine where they have, a little shrine for the sister, the mom. And like, she loved you guys and you did all these different things and yada, yada, yada. And like, this is just cool. And it's nice that you're here, your family here. When you hear your family, this big Olive Garden thing,
Olive Garden.
And so it's very much like cool. Your mom knew you'd come back one day. We knew you'd come back one day. So we made you these cool dragon scale armor. Oh, she tells the whole story, obviously, of like, what the fuck's going on, right? Of like, welcome to this weird dimension. We've had fun here and we got all these crazy creatures.
We've had fun here.
We know about your dimension. That shit's cool, but like our shit's cooler. And like there was this one time, there was this crazy, what do they call them? Face sucker, head sucker, dead sucker?
Soul suckers?
Soul suckers?
Yeah, soul sucker. Yeah.
We got some spear suckers and soul suckers.
Suck his soul.
They came through, man, and they were a big old problem, and we were getting our asses kicked, and they had eaten a bunch of dimensions, and they were here for our dimensions, and every time they eat somebody, they get stronger, which is a big problem. And so like this just sucked.
Fun fact about Michelle Yeoh here. She is the third actor ever to get 2 roles in the MCU. This is her second appearance in the
She was
MCU.
in Guardians, right?
She was one of the Ravagers in Guardians
that's
of the Galaxy
That's
Volume 2.
awesome.
Yeah, the other 2 are Laura Haddock, also played a bit part in Captain America before playing Peter Quill's mom.
And what's her face from Eternals? Right?
And Gemma Chan. Gemma Chan. I don't know how to say her name.
Gemma.
But she was in Captain Marvel and now Eternals.
Who's she in
There you
Captain
go.
Marvel?
She was
She was one of the ladies.
sniper.
Yeah, she's turned
Oh,
on.
okay, cool.
Turned on her in the beginning.
Gotcha. Your mom. Oh yeah, the Death Eater soul suckers. They, he was a big problem.
Your mom.
But what happened eventually, right, is we were getting our asses kicked, but we were trying to fight back. And what happened? Our dragon, the dragon of the dragon, Fing Fang.
Great protector.
It's not Fin
Fang Foom. It's not Fin Fang Foom.
No, it is. It is. I just said it was. And so he came out and he helped everybody. He ate a bunch of bad people, and that's great. Why isn't he Fing Fang Foom?
Rock the dragon.
Because he's not. He's the great protector.
Dragon Ball.
With the
Different character.
Okay, cool. And so yeah, he did all this different shit and he fucked these guys up. And then he was like, you know what? I'm going away, but I'm gonna leave you with a bunch of scales. And he went wah, 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 like a wet dog, and the scales came off. And they're like, oh,
thank you for the scales.
They're catching them, they fall there. And so we got all this shit. So we made all these cool weapons that if we ever had to fight the face sucker, head sucker again, we would use the cool scale weapons. And everybody's like, that's really cool because you got a bunch of staffs that have like red gems on the end. It looks like they're like Dorothy's shoes on a stick. That's neat. And they're like, if that wasn't enough, when you come, so we made you some scale outfits. Here you go, in case you ever have to fight. And you're like, oh, we're gonna have to fight. Dad's coming. Dad wants to open up the thing. He thinks mom's back there. And she's like, oh, actually, you told me this part. This is how I told you the whole story. And it's like, oh, this is bad recapping from Greg. I apologize. I'm Shang Chi. And so that's the kit and caboodle. And meanwhile, you got Dad out there, and he's like, I'm gonna come get my wife. And there's a few times where we hear the wife being like, yo, chicken. Finger looking good. He's like, shit, chicken's finger looking good. Thanks, ghost, for telling me. And she's like, also though, come get me. I'm on the other side of the wall. I'm not a face sucker. He's like, oh, neat. I'm gonna come get you, honey. I'll convince the kids. Well, I'll be together soon. We'll have some fried chicken. He's like, all right.
Come on.
Are you saying
leave it to Beaver?
So we can fry Morris? Is that what you're thinking when you think about that?
I just wanted to get finger licking and good.
Okay.
For no reason. I don't know.
I'll tell you what, man.
You did it.
When I saw Morris, I was like, I want to skin that thing and fry that thing. That's the first thing I thought. You all thought it too.
I was waiting for it to do some kind of weird
magic thing.
Yeah, the cat from Captain Marvel. I forget what the creature that actually is or whatever. But I was expecting it to eventually have an anus mouth fucking fuck some shit up. But he never does because he's adorable. Anyways, and you can get his Funko Pop soon, I'm sure. Anyways, and so yeah, Dad's coming. He's gonna do all this different shit. He believes the chicken is good. She's like, all right, fine, we'll be fucking ready. So they're chilling out. Oh, Shang-Chi's like, or Shang-Chi is like, hey, Aunt, you need to teach me. Mom's the only one who could stop Dad with the 10 rings. You got to teach me how to do that. And she's like, it's very sexual. And he's like, I got to do what I got to do to save the world. And so he goes out there, she goes out there, and she's tracing the circle. And he's like, fuck this, you're going to fuck me up. And so they're doing the thing, but they're doing the slow down time 2 thing. He's like, oh, I'm getting it, grass, and like, oh, percussion shit. It's a lot like that movie where Mr. Fantastic drums and J. Jonah Jameson yells at him. It's a lot like that as they practice and do all their different stuff.
That was actually in Marvel. That's Marvel canon.
That was a prequel of that one. And so like, cool. And so he gets it, of course. Oh, I get it. I got to use grass and stuff and wind. That's neat. And she's like, yeah, it's all, you've been too worried about science. Like, open your hands, do this. Now it's jazz. And he's like, I got it. This is
jazz, baby.
Yeah. And meanwhile, Mr. Fantastic's like,
it's jazz, daddy-o.
And he's like, I got it. I understand. Cool. And so eventually, though, so then from there, she's one of the things she's like, listen, you got to know yourself if you're going to do this. Like, you can't hold back. You got to be who you are, kind of shit. And so she's over there at the water. He's over there at the water. And eventually Katie comes and finds him. And she's like, I've been looking for you everywhere. And he's like, yeah, I got to tell you something. And at this point, like, Jen leans over and this is where we have the flashback, by the way, of the real shit that happened, right? Where the mom had been killed by people who showed up, the gang, somebody or others, the iron people, they had shown up and they were like, listen, we're here to kill, your husband fucked up our lives, we're gonna fuck up his life. And she's like, he's not here. And he's like, somebody's got to pay. And she's like, not the kids though, right? And he's like, all right, cool, not the kids or whatever, but I'm gonna fucking kill you. And it's this, she's like, my husband's changed. He's like, I don't give a shit. And he's got like a bunch of guys. And she looks, she's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7. I got this, no problem. She's like, all right, Shang, sister, you go in the house. I got this. Again, we come back here a couple times. He's, you know, your powers. And she's like, I don't need my powers. We're family or some shit like that. And like, don't worry about it. Just go in there. And she says something else inspiring that'll inspire him when he's underwater. She slaps him on the booty. He goes inside and he's like, no, just stare out the window. And like, she's like, I'm going to fuck you guys up, does the trace of the circle thing. And then like 19 more guys comes and she's like, oh, fuck. And so she gets just killed by this. She takes out a bunch of them. She gets killed by them though.
Yeah, she was like, when you learn the wind dancing with your aunt, she's not hitting on you, all right? Like, I know me and my dad, we banged after we did that cool fight, but you and your aunt, it's not the same thing, okay? It's different this time.
And so, but when you fight against your dad, but so, you know, then that's when dad came home and he's like, oh, you fucking killed him. And that's when we had the thing earlier we were talking about where he puts on the rings for the first time. He's like, if I had never taken this off, they never would have fucked with me. And so he puts the rings back on. And that's when they go to like the parlor or whatever, and the bar, the card, whatever, the seedy underground club, restaurant, or whatever. And he's like, is that them? And Shang's like, and it's
one of the top sequences in the movie.
Goes over there and fucks these guys up, throws the body back at Shang. Is so fucking good. You know what I mean? And does the like, yeah. He's like, where's your boss? I don't know. And I think he says, okay. And then just so fucking kills him. And then, you know, Shang is like obviously shaken by this. And he's like, a blood debt's got to be paid with blood. Like, will you join me or whatever? And he's when he's like, yeah. And he's like, yeah, all right. And he like does like the smiley, like, all right, great, son. And this is where he goes into full blown training for the assassin mode. This is where we lead up to the final conversation that, you know, he gives him the dagger. And he's like, we found the main guy behind your mom's killing. You need to go assassinate him or whatever. And that's when he's like, okay. This is when we cut back to him on the shore being sad and Katie coming up and be like, I'm looking everywhere. And this is when Jen leaned over and she's like, it's going to turn out that Katie's grandfather was the final guy. And I was like, oh shit. Like, that's actually a really good pull. It turns out that's not the fact. It's just that he lied to Katie and he killed her. He killed the guy. And so when he said he didn't go through the mission, he didn't go through the mission. And Katie, of course, does the total irrational thing of like, you understand, like, you were trained to be an assassin since you were 7 or whatever.
Also,
you were
14 when this
happened. This is like,
yeah.
Total abuse. Like, you don't have to be worried about being held responsible for your actions here. Like, you did what you needed to do. Blah, blah, blah.
Live with it, internalize it. Don't do it again. Let's let me do it again.
If
you were a rich kid.
If this were a homegirl from Invincible, the girlfriend, she would have been like,
Amber,
you're fucking suck.
You
suck,
Shang
Chi. All right,
that's
what she would have said.
Yeah,
like, I'm out of here, dude. I'm getting out of this
place.
Andy.
Ace in the hole.
Jesus.
So, you know, that's out, and now, you know, it's always out, better out than in kind of thing. And then the next morning, crack of dawn, one of the nine tails goes cock-a-doodle-doo, you know, and it's there. Guess who rolls up? It's all the bad guys. You know, Dad's there, and he's got his rings on, and he shows up, and everybody's there, and then everybody shows up, and they're all there, and it's like, I don't want to fight. We don't want to fight you. Go away. Just don't come in and do this. Like, you've been lied to. There's a monster back there. He's like, I haven't been lied to. You've been doing anything. He's like, this is all your fault. You wouldn't let us in. The old guy's like, we wouldn't let you in. It's not everybody. By the way, this is the old guy. They had trained Katie to use the bow and arrow too. She was quite good at it. She liked it. You know, if you're never gonna hit anything if you're not aiming at something or whatever the fuck.
I don't like when movies make it so like the training, like, you know, they're suddenly experts after a day. Kind of buzz me out.
I don't think she was an expert though. Okay, like, I mean, she's good.
She'd been
watching I'm not talking about her as much as Shang.
Her entire life, Kevin.
Oh, okay.
I meant more Shang.
Oh, you mean him, though, his wind powers?
Yeah.
Shang.
Yeah, but he just had to like tweak his already awesome powers to be able to understand that instead of having a closed fist, which is thematically, relevant to his rage, he has to let it go.
Yeah, it's like he was already good at oil painting. He just switched to watercolor. You know?
Yeah. Super easy, man. You can paint a tree, you can paint a human's eyeball.
And so they're like, no, you dummy.
You can dodge a wrench. Yeah.
There's no, your wife is dead. She's not back there. And he's like, the fuck she is in. I'm going to open up that big old manhole cover and get my giant wife out of there. Because I hear the spirit's big when it's back there. And they're like, all right, it's not going to happen. He's like, fucking, let's go. And they all start, they're all fighting and shit. There's a bunch of cool shit's happening. They're fucking throwing things around. This giant fight's breaking out. This awesome thing where they've got their fucking electricity weapons. And they run up to one of those giant lions and zap it. And the lion just looks at the dude and thwaps him away like a cat. I was like, that's awesome.
Those things look way too cool, man. Like, I just needed to see them on the screen all the time.
Yeah, yeah. And so, Dad, he makes his way through everybody. He makes his way over to the shrine to his dead wife. Shang's like, you know what? I got to chase him. He goes over there. He's dodging, fighting other people as he goes over there. Awkwafina's fighting people. She doesn't have her arrows yet, though. Or no, she does have her arrows at this point, right? No, she doesn't. Doesn't matter. She's doing stuff. Maybe she's just making jokes. Oh, she does the thing where she's saying at it. No, that was on the thing we skipped. Doesn't matter. Eventually though, Sean gets over there and he's like, "You got come on now, Dad, don't do this." And he's like, "I got to do this. So you don't understand love or whatever." And so they fight for a bit, and it's very anime here, right? And then he does like the huge punch to him and like shoots him across the water, and the water all shoots up and stuff, and he sinks. And then Dad goes over to the giant manhole cover and he's like, "All right, Dragon Tail manhole covers, enough of this shit." And he's got the rings, pa, pa, pa. And then like one of those weird little fucking creatures comes out and it flies over there. And everyone's like, "What the fuck's this stupid thing?" And then like, they're like, razor arm or razor fist. We got to stop doing this. Like, "Yeah, you're fucking lying. We're going to kill you, blah, blah." And then the thing comes down, it sucks the soul out of the one dude and goes away. And he's like, "All right, we have to." And I don't like his delivery here either. It's very much like flat. It's almost like,
It's so bad.
It's just it's I feel like we've seen this joke done before and done better. You're like Avengers, right? Captain America lands and he's like, "We need a perimeter here, there, blah." And the guy's like, "Who the fuck are you to?" And then he beats the shit. He's like, "We need a perimeter here, there, and there." Like that was a better because we need to do this now.
That's a great pull right there, Greg. That's a great pull.
That's good.
Like think about it. You're gonna be a dad soon, and you're coming out with pulls like that. That's crazy.
And don't forget, Nick's coming over. Or I'm sorry, Tim's coming over once a week to take the head photo. You know what I mean? A lot of good things happening. A lot of things happening with this kid.
Can Uncle Nick and Uncle Kevin set up the wooden pole for little Greg?
Oh, sure. To do the punching?
To have to do the punching thing for like 16 years? Okay.
Sure.
Cool. Okay.
And
you know what? Run that by Jen first, though. Why don't you run that by Jen first? See what her thoughts are on the whole bloodying his knuckles when he's like 4 years old.
I would just tell her.
Okay, she's never gonna figure it out. Why do his knuckles keep getting blood? We don't understand this.
I don't know. Boys will be boys, honey. That's all we gotta say. You know what I mean? And so then you keep punching more of it. More of the things keep coming out, and they're like, and they're coming over there, right? And like the voice behind it is going, "Oh, let me out!" Much more of that shit. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of those things coming out now, and there's a lot of them out. And then we go back to Shang, and he's underwater, but he's getting some bubbles coming up his face, and then we get more of the flashback, like I was saying, to like the mom giving him some inspirational thing. I forget exactly what it was, but you're a dragon heart kind of shit. He has enough oxygen then to open his eyes, and there's the big dragon protector. The great protector. It comes out of the water with him. It starts eating all the things in the sky. It was like, "Holy fucking shit, we got a thing in the sky." And it's eating stuff and it's doing stuff and it's fun and it's just fucking awesome. This whole shit's fucking awesome. And then eventually he jumps off and Dad's there and he comes down the wall to fight Dad, right? Because he jumps off
in the fuck back.
Yeah, right.
And he's like, "Hey, Daddy-o, not Coolio," is what he does.
He's like, "Oh, Sonny, I don't want to do this to you, but I will." And so this is like when it gets super anime and like it's all dark, night sky or whatever. And they're like, "Shit." This is when Nick or Tim was like, "Let's fucking go."
It's incredible. I fucking love this. I think one of the wisest choices they made with the 10 rings themselves was to make them bracelets as opposed to rings like they are in the comics. It's just such a cool ass thing, visually different than whatever we've seen in the MCU before. And it allows this scene to be fucking awesome. And that push and pull between them of he has half of them, he has half of them, like the powers going back and forth was so incredibly fucking cool. And him doing the big Kamehameha thing and then just dropping it. Oh my Lord.
Doesn't want to kill his dad.
Chills.
I'll tell you what, I would be a terrible owner of the 10 rings. I would be so paranoid every time that I'm gonna get my knuckles sort of nicked as the bracelets are coming back on. Like, fucking gee, I get stub my thumb.
I thought you were gonna go with like you walk into work and Kevin's the first one he spots. He goes, "Hey Andy, why is there only 9 rings on your arms?"
Jesus. Fuck. Let's see. I guess I was last at CVS. I should call them to see if I left one there. Like, yeah.
You think that guy's giving you that ring back? That fucking guy that calls you out on your shit?
Fuck that guy.
Like, that guy sucks.
He doesn't even work there anymore. He doesn't even work there.
As the fight that we were just talking about and everything, and like he's about to do the Hadouken, but drops him and all that stuff, right? Like, there's the weird like push and pull standoff, but yeah, he doesn't want to kill his dad, and because he doesn't want to be a killer, and he doesn't want to kill his dad, obviously. And then throughout as this happens, this is when the manhole cover breaks, right, and the giant creature comes out. Your giant soul sucker, right? They call him something later, the ultimate soul sucker, or something funny when they're doing
Super Weller. Is the name of the big thing.
Sure, but what do they call him at the over drinks at the end? Katie has
I think it was the super soul sucker.
Mega super sucker or some shit like that.
Maybe Mega.
He comes out and he's way scary, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, this guy's bad." And so, how are we gonna stop this guy? I don't know, Spider-Man. And so, like, I think
sounded like Nick's Ralph Macchio.
I don't. It's all interchangeable at this point, right? But eventually,
this guy, Mr. Miyagi.
Does he eat? Does he eat Daddy-O's soul first, or does he go? He
sucks
does.
Dad's soul, but then the rings come off of him, right? Like, doesn't Dad give up the rings?
Yeah, he gives the
before
Yeah,
rings
dies?
he gives
to.
her the rings. It was
And he
cool.
gives him the rings. And by the way, Tim, how much does it irk you that when the good guy gets the rings, they're not blue anymore?
I mean, obviously, kind of bums me out. However, it's dope as fuck, so I give it to him because
Yeah, when they go
them
gold
changing
instead.
color. If they
Yeah,
didn't change
sick.
color, it wouldn't have been as cool. Like
That is
that's
cool.
like okay, like fuck yeah, man.
I'll tell you
Him
what
in
I needed
red,
here,
so
though.
dope.
I'll tell you what I needed here, though. When Daddy-O is being held by Soul Sucker, and he's like, I'm giving up my life. This is obviously the end. I needed a little homage to a pivotal moment in cinematic history of John Voight being vomited by Anaconda and winking at J-Lo and Ice Cube. Remember that? When gross ass
How
John
can you
Voight gets
forget?
vomited, and it's like this is a corpse clearly. It's like his body's just all full of acids and he's pretty much dead. You get a little wink, and I was like, oh, this is just like Gus Fring adjusting the ties. A cool moment. I needed that.
So yeah, Daddy-O gets sucked up. Sean gets the rings. All hell's breaking loose. They're fighting the thing. They're running around doing the fights and stuff. I forget. They get the upper hand. The Great Protector's out there. He's whipping ass. He's going to the water, making water shoot up and do cool shit. Oh, at some point too, like the Great Protector had a bunch of little weird little guys on his eyes or whatever. His sister used the thing on a string to get them all off, and that was cool. And then yeah, we had already had that. We talked about it a long time ago, but Aquafina with the don't get killed or whatever when she finally took the bone arrow. So they've got Super Soul Sucker on the ropes or whatever, but then as he's getting sucked down to the water, all the little shits come over and they start dropping the orbs in his face, the spirits in his face or whatever. And he's like, nah, I'm super strong. He gets big and super strong. I'm like, oh shit, fuck. And so he's fucking all sorts of shit up. And so then he's eating more stuff and he's fucking more shit up. And eventually though, he's got the Great Protector, and he starts to suck Great Protector soul. I mean, they're like, if he gets this thing, it's over for everybody. He's gonna bust out and eat every universe in the world or whatever, because the Great Protector soul is very, very delicious and very big and filling. And so they're like, fuck. And so what do? We got to get up there and kill it and whatever. So they do a bunch of shit. And then eventually, to Katie, they're like, you got to shoot it in the fucking throat. Oh, that her friend, the old man who wasn't her friend, but her trainer, you got to shoot it in the fucking throat. She's like, got it all. And then he gets snatched up and they eat his soul. And it's like, oh, fuck, man, you should have shot that thing right there. But then later she's like, I only had one arrow. I was like, oh, I didn't really realize that in the moment, but I'm glad you said that later on to teach that to me. And you know what I mean? So eventually, they're up there and they're fighting and shit's going sideways and it's not looking good and Great Protector. And then the arrow comes in and it gets him in the throat and and he can't suck the soul anymore and he's going down. And then Shang's and then his sister was on Great Protector and then she's up there with Shang and then he jumps off and he's got the rings and he's like, let's fucking go. And that's when he shoots him down into the Super Soul Sucker's mouth. And then they start spinning his belly and we can see him and he's coming down. He's like, coming down all fucking super cool and severe.
So badass. So badass.
And then he yanks him up and the thing fucking explodes everywhere. And yeah. And they're like, oh, we did the fucking, we blew up this stupid thing.
Just to be in a free fall and to have that hype and knowing what's happening, and they cut back to that far shot and you just see the tiny Shang-Chi in midair way the fuck up there. I just, goddamn, this whole sequence is so hype for me. I had tears in my eyes from how hype it was.
I think that this is one of the coolest hero moments from an origin movie that we've ever had. This 100%. It all leads to this of him doing this. I'm like, cool, you're a fucking Avenger now. This is awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Loved it. Then we get, over on the water or the shore, there's a bit of celebration, but there's also tons of dead people that have all died there. We go around, eventually we come to Trevor's body where Morris comes over. And this actually probably happened earlier, but Morris comes over and is being sad. And Trevor's like, it's acting or whatever. People lay down to be part of it. He's like, oh, okay. And Morris fakes his own death and flops down next to him or whatever.
Love it. I can't think I fucking Ben Kingsley to do this. I love it. So
it's amazing.
And so then we have the little funeral scene, right, where they send off all the lanterns, for all the people who have fallen in this great battle or whatever, and Great Protector's under the water, and he does some shit too. And Shang says goodbye to his dad. Sis says goodbye to their mom, kind of thing. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, it's all's well that ends well kind of thing. From there, we jump to San Francisco, where we are back at the bar. and Shang and Katie are recapping the entire adventure and how crazy it was and all this different stuff, and talking about the Great Protector, and talking about the Super Soul Sucker, and talking about the shop. It was my last arrow, and yada yada blah 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 blah. And they end their immaculate, amazing story, right? And the lawyer who we hate, because we hate lawyers, right, Andy?
Hate him.
Yeah, except for the ones forcing the copyright on the idea I've put out for the head-to-head photo. We're like, she's like, what are you making fun of me? Like, obviously, 2 weeks ago you're here and you had shitty jobs and all this shitty stuff, and I was a shitty person. I said something shitty, and now you're fucking here to be mean. Like, no, this really happened. This is all fucking real. Like, yeah, sure it is. Blah blah blah. And so while she's laying into them, she stops because in the background we have Wong spinning up a Sorcerer Supreme stone over there, coming out with the cheesy gordita crunch, and he pops out and the thing's open, and he's just like, Shang Chi, and Shang Chi's like, here, present, like in class or whatever. He's like, you got to come with me. We got to talk about these 10 rings or whatever. He's like, okay. And he's like, you come too, Katie. And so they get up, they say goodbye, and Katie does the fun thing like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll call you when we figure out what's going on. He's like, I'll Venmo you for the drinks.
I was like, I wonder. My first thought was, I wonder if there's like, well, he's gonna leave him with the drinks, and then he's like, I'll Venmo you for. I was like, that's a good friend. That's a good friend right there.
And so like,
We've all
again,
had
like
that one friend that walks away, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm just buying this.
Craig Baradon.
I actually didn't have a friend in mind, but that's a good one right there.
I mean, if you remember, I definitely remember drinking in 2008, 2009 with him at Eddie Rickenbacker's, and it happened to me once, and then it never happened to me again. If I even saw him go for a cigarette, I'd be like, stop, pay.
Yeah.
Stop and pay. We're all fucking broke. Nobody can cover this. You got to help.
My favorite thing Craig would do, and he does this to this day, anytime we ever have dinner or we have to split a bill, is people like start throwing in cars and stuff like that, and he'll just subtly like hand someone a dollar bill. And it's just so insulting, but you're like, it makes you laugh so much every single time he does it.
Shang-Chi puts out his arm. Katie puts her arm through it because they're a cool little like friend couple here, and like just doing this thing. They walk through the thing, and the thing closes, and that's the movie in terms of the actual movie. Then we get our mid-credit scene. Our mid-credit. Oh, he also mentioned, by the way, at the table that his sister was shutting down the 10 rings. She went back to do that. We jump to the first mid-credit scene, which is Wong with the rings, right? Has him like blown up, and he's like looking at him and talking about it. And then we have Dr. Banner himself, Mark Ruffalo, and
back as human form, which is interesting.
Yeah, what do you think that's all about? You saw that, of course, arm still in a sling from using the glove, but then he had a weird like thing, like some kind of like digital deal around his wrist on his other arm. I was wondering if that was keeping Hulk in check kind of thing or whatever. We'll find out.
I don't know. I'm interested. This is definitely one of the most exciting post-credit scenes that we've had in a long time, because I don't know what they're teasing. Like, I don't know who they're calling out to, like what's happening with this shit. Like, it's very, very cool to me, because normally it's like, oh, clearly they're leading to this. This could go a bunch of different ways.
Or it's a silly joke.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. But with this, I thought it was really cool. Did not expect to see either Bruce Banner or Captain Marvel in this movie, and I think that this movie did such a great job tying things together. And I love how prominent Wong is, like especially knowing we're about to get him in, presumably Doctor Strange 2, but definitely Spider-Man No Way Home. Like, he's just kind of popping up everywhere, and he's a dope character.
Yeah, I thought this was a really fun scene too. Yeah, like you said, they broke them out. They don't know what it is. They don't know what material it is, and they have something inside that's pulsating. It's calling out. Who's it calling out to? Nobody knows. In the middle of that, Carol gets a phone call, or a page or whatever. She's like, "I gotta go. You can get, nice meeting you guys. You can get my number from Bruce." She leaves, and he's like, "I don't have her number." She just does that
all the time.
They nailed it. That was hilarious.
Yeah, but Bruce is like, you know what? All right, cool. We'll look into this. Keep our eye on it. But it's whatever. Blah, blah. Like, welcome to the circus, and he signs off too. And that was like the whole like kind of. For a second, I thought he was gonna say welcome to the Avengers kind of shit. Yeah. But instead, he does it, and so then it's Wong. Then just with Wong, Katie, and Shang-Chi, and he's like, all right, well, yeah, your lives are about to change, and they're never going to be the same again. So, go home and get some rest and be ready to be on call. And Sean does it. We could do that, and then it's the cut to when he I don't know if you were, you guys were in the theater with me. I don't know if you caught. Like, I busted up when Wong started into like go home and I was like, oh my god, I know exactly where they're going with this. And so the jump cut to them doing Hotel
all
California.
Three of them. All of fucking. That's what's great. It's not just the two of them. It's Wong's there too, fucking throwing down, and I love it.
It was such a great.
Fuck yeah, Wong fucking parties, dude.
It was like such a great little cut, and I was, as Shang is sitting there and being like, or there's something else we could do, and I thought like, oh damn, they're gonna hint at even more right here. Like Shang is about to talk to like I don't know who right now. We're about to see another big ass cameo, And then when it ended up not being that, I was like, oh no, there's still rules. Like this is a good scene.
Dude, I'll tell you what though. Andy, it's like when we're like, let's go get something, and Tim's like, guys, I can't. We got stuff we got to do tomorrow. And then Kevin says the right thing, and Tim's like, you know what?
That's so
All
true.
right. You know what?
Yeah.
Fuck it. That's it. I'm in.
If that wasn't enough, then you're fine. Like as we're going, I'm like, all right, wow, that was a substantive mid-credit scene. I was like, that means the final one's going to be a joke. It's going to be Ben Kingsley and Morris frolicking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Setting up wherever we leave them.
I wouldn't have been mad.
Not at all. Not at all. However, it wasn't, ladies and gentlemen. Instead, what it was in fact sister and Ronnie setting up the new 10 rings, right? And they've put up cool graffiti, and she's taking control. And like the army's like 95% women out there, and they're doing cool shit, and there's graffiti everywhere. And Cool Reg's like, hell yeah, lit, and like they're fucking party.
Do you think she was like, hey, I got a line on a lot of Black widows that are currently unemployed? We could bring them over here and give them some jobs and some cool shit to do.
Maybe. I mean, honestly, the widows being free like they are at the end of Black Widow, and
I mean that was like in the 90s though, right? So I guess that wouldn't check out because maybe they're
No, it was like
no.
2017 or something, like post Civil War. But especially with the blip,
sorry.
there's that 5 years.
I
that
got that mixed up with
complicates
Captain
it.
Marvel for a hot second in the 90s.
Gotcha. Yeah, but I think that's really cool, and the fact that we do see Ronnie with her, and that like ties together that the whole Fight Club that they were at. They're all working together somehow. If the Black Widow's there, it's not out of the realm of possibility that they are now the 10 rings, which is cool as fuck. And I love it ending with the 10 rings will return. So damn cool.
Yeah. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is Shang Chi and the Legend of the 10 Rings.
7 syllables in the middle. You'll need 5 for the first and last line. If you're not poetic, no need to fret it. Haikus don't need to rhyme. Haiku in review.
Your piano's not
Haiku
coming
in
Your
review.
music.
So low.
I hear the
I
piano.
love it.
I heard the
because
piano.
It's really weird.
It's like background bed music for
Was it really quiet?
an
Really?
internet piece. Yeah.
It was like in and out faint.
Oh, weird.
But yeah. Anyway, you can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny to write your review in haiku form, just like Samuel Griffin did. Father, son, daughter, fight for the fate of the world. Who are you? Shang-Chi. Andy Sankit says, dragons, heart in you. Dad made a man out of 2. Sister knows Kung Fu. Mike L in the chat says, Shang-Chi, what a G. Save the world with family. Oh, and slattery. I like that one. That was good, Mike. And Joe Mertens, we could go home. Or Mystical Adventure Time, Karaoke Wong. There we go. Hit me with that ragged baggy, please.
Andy, you're totally muted.
You're not
Nothing's
coming in
happening.
at all.
You're 100% muted, Andy.
He's just doing mouth stuff. He's tricking us. He got us.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Ragu.
Do-do-do-do-do-do.
Ragu.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Rad Guys Talk Bad Guys, a podcast within a podcast where we rank all the villains of the MCU and X-Men and something else in here. Oh, there's a Star Wars in here. Remember, of course, we have revamped it maybe since you last watched, where we now have a tier system: S rank, A rank, B rank, C rank, D rank, F rank. We have 40 villains on the list already. We need to decide, ladies and gentlemen, where Daddy-O is going. Where do you want to put Daddy-O in this whole conversation? And, if there's anybody else in there, let me know. Sorry, Tim, I know you're trying to go.
I want to start this off saying I think I'm going to go B. And I want to go B because I think that the Mandarin himself is one of the best villains we've ever had. I love how complex he is. I love he's clearly a bad guy, but in this movie, he's not really bad. And it's like the way that they deal with his dynamics with the entire family, I think is awesome. However, Razor Fist is involved. Death Dealer is involved. There are other elements at play that I think kind of, and even the soul sucker thing, it's just like, there's enough stuff that I'm like, about that it brings down how high quality the Mandarin himself is. So I would say, I'd say B tier.
So I think I won't give you the whole list. Does anybody think he's below B?
No.
Okay,
No.
then I'm going to give you right now the 16 villains in order along with their tiers so we understand what we're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
S rank looks like this. Number 1, Thanos. Number 2, the Vulture. Number 3, MBJ. Number 4, Bacon Guy, a.k.a. Zemo from Civil War. Number 5, Thanos in Endgame. A tier goes He Who Remains / TVA and Loki, Wanda, Agatha, and you know what I'm going with that one. Hawkeye is what it still says there. Loki, Avengers. The number 9 is Hell / Grandmaster from Thor. Number 10 is Ego and Guardians 2. Number 11 is Mysterio from Far From Home. Then we get into the B tier, which is 12 Baconator First Class. Number 13 Pierce Logan X-24. Number 14 Stryker. Number 15 Hydra and Captain America Winter Soldier. Number 16 Ultron in Ultron. For me, I wouldn't put him anywhere lower than A tier. I think when you get to B, we get into this different thing. And yes, Razor Fist brings down the overall product, sure. But I think the dad's motivations are so cool. I think the fight scenes are so cool. Even them having to unify to fight the kaiju at the end, I like more than I like what we get into really the X-Men classes here, right? With Baconator, Pierce from X-24, or Pierce from Logan, Stryker, Hydra, Ultron.
Yeah, just to clarify, I actually mean A tier. I was thinking, I forgot about S. So yeah, I agree. You should be A.
Then I do not think he's S tier, where it's Thanos, the Vulture, Michael B. Jordan, Bacon Guy, Thanos again, the top 5 there. I would think he falls into A tier somewhere.
I go above Hela.
So you'd go above Hela, and then below Loki and Avengers, also below Wanda / Agatha, and then below He Who Remains.
Yeah, I would go. Yeah, I agree with Tim. Right below Loki.
I'll second that. I'll third that.
All right, then I think you have the votes. I might go higher on a given Sunday, but it doesn't matter because you have the votes. So that means that
the quorum has been closed.
The quorum has been closed.
I think Hiddleston is so charming and funny in that role, and he's such a piece of garbage, but he's really, really entertaining. On the other side of that, though, I do think that Daddy-O's like fight scenes are just so cool and awesome, and everything he's involved with action wise is so damn badass, you know.
All right, well there you have it then. We have put Daddy-O and Razor Fist into the A tier of Ragu Bagu. They are at number 9, below Loki, above Hell / Grandmaster.
What a hard carry by Daddy-O for Razor Fist.
Totally.
There we go. Now it's time to rank the MCU. Currently, number 1, Endgame. Number 2, Infinity War. Number 3, Homecoming. Number 4, Civil War. Number 5, Ragnarok. Number 6, Winter Soldier. Number 7, Guardians 2. Number 8, Loki. Number 9, WandaVision. Number 10, Avengers 1. Number 11, Guardians 1. Number 12, Iron Man 1. Number 13, Far From Home. Number 14, Black Panther. Number 15, Doctor Strange. Number 16, Falcon and Winter Soldier. Number 17, Captain Marvel. Number 18, Ant-Man and the Wasp. Number 19, Ant-Man. Number 20, Black Widow. Number 21, Iron Man 2. Number 22, Age of Ultron. Number 23, First Avenger. Number 24, Iron Man 3. 25, Hulk. 26, Thor. And 27, Thor 2, The Dark World. Who would like to start?
I'll start.
Do it, Andy.
First off, man, why did we put WandaVision so high? That's wild. Second off,
because we voted.
That's crazy.
WandaVision was awesome.
One bad episode.
Ending was real bad. Yeah. This is gonna go pretty damn high for me. I am in that spot that we often run into. I like it better than this, but not than that, and it's kind of in a weird area. I would put this at number 12 underneath Guardians 1.
Oof, Andy, that is so close to where I'm at right now.
I think it's better. Like, I would rather watch this than WandaVision, but not than Avengers and Guardians.
Wow.
So this goes at number 12 for me.
One underneath that, I'd put it at 13, right above Far From Home. That's where I would put it.
God, you
wow.
Iron Man.
I didn't expect you. Like, I thought you guys might put it higher. I think that I would put it on number 15.
Okay.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and like again, this is the thing where it's like it's the list above it is they're so good, you know.
Underneath
Yeah,
Black
of course.
Panther?
Yeah, underneath Black Panther. That's like, it's funny because like I like the third act in this movie I think better than I do the like climactic Black Panther versus Black Panther.
Well, the climax of Black Panther was not great. Yeah, I think those were that didn't do it for me either.
And while I really like the dad, I liked Killmonger more.
Tony!
Killmonger.
You said Ironmonger. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we just
if you put an Obadiah Stane reference in here, it's got to come out.
Gotta come out.
Or out and in. It's funny, you know, and I know I don't even know. This isn't me saying he's wrong. When Kevin said, "Oh, I would have put it higher or whatever," I thought you meant higher up the list. I would go higher up the list than anybody. It sounds like so far. I think I'd honestly put this at number 8. I liked this movie that much that if you were to sit there and be like, I want to rewatch Loki, I want to rewatch WandaVision, or if you want to, like, you go through, what do you want to rewatch right now? And I know right now is very much, currently, thing. I just watched it last night, yada, yada, yada. I would still say over those, I'd put it below Guardians Volume 2, above Loki.
Sorry, just to clarify, I was saying that I thought you guys would put it higher. I was shocked that you guys were around the same area that I was.
Yeah, I mean, I really fucking love this movie, and a lot of these Marvel's just fantastic. I would actually put it at number 10. I think that this really kind of fired on all cylinders, and I'd put it above Avengers 1, underneath WandaVision. So, yeah, let's do the voting. Who thinks it's better than Doctor Strange? Raise your hand. All of us. Who thinks it's better than Black Panther? Nick and Kev are down. Kev is still up. Who thinks it's better than Far From Home? Everybody. Who thinks it's better than Iron Man 1? Nick's down. Who thinks it's better than Guardians 1? Andy is down. So that means
power Andy has in it. The power he wields in his fists.
It's now number 12. So there we go, in the top half of the MCU. Love you guys so much.
Surprise! What a good surprise!
What a surprise! What a good one! You know what I mean?
So
I know.
Now here's another thing I want to I'm sorry, Andy, lean in. Just want to put this out there, all right? In the live chat, Arturo182 says it's hard to compare a 2-hour movie with a 5 to 6 hour series. It is hard, but that's our job, Arturo, and we're happy to do it for you.
Yeah.
If you also said, man, that's hard to do those kind of things, ladies and gentlemen, you should go to Patreon because you owe us $10.
$10, yeah.
Yeah, I need everyone to lean in.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
See, thank you.
Kev, Nick, everyone.
Yeah.
Secret time, okay?
Yeah.
I've never seen Spy Kids.
I know.
We all knew it, baby. We all knew
We're
it.
well aware that you just like to be
Tim,
the
don't worry
contrarian a
about
lot
it.
of times.
Don't
That
worry
you
about it.
really
We
you think your
all knew.
personality is just being the fly in the ointment. You know what I mean? We understand. We understand.
Can I tell you something that a shocking revelation for me as well?
Nick, you don't need to always be involved.
I
You
don't.
just be the end, Nick. You just be the end.
Tim,
Get in the show. We get
I
you out on
don't-
Friday night.
Hey,
I don't like that.
Hey.
Originally, it was me, Andy, and Greg leaning in, and then he just excluded me from that for the latter half of the show.
Have a marvelous day, huh? Have a marvelous day.
Have a